Welcome to Novel Love Hearing. Here, we bring you fun, thrilling, and immersive novels in audio form. With a growing library of audiobooks, there's something here for every listener. Do you like Naruto fan fiction? We have it all. From powerful ninja battles to amazing sage arts and wood-style moves, or even Tsunoda's boobs, you can enjoy epic adventures anytime. Love One Piece stories? Soar through the skies with Moonwalk, sense the world with observation Haki, clash with enemies using armament Haki, spending the night with Nami and Robin and rise to fame by unleashing your conqueror's Haki. Become a true pirate of the seas. Your adventure starts here. Want even more? You can go full Bankai. Let's go. We offer a wide range of stories, including Fairy Tales, Hunter x Hunter, High School DxD, Marvel and DC, Harry Potter, and many more. So, what are you waiting for? Jump into endless adventures today. We're waiting for you at Novel Love Hearing. Then Kawasaki Saki witnessed something unbelievable. Click. Futaba opened the bathroom door and walked right in without hesitation. The door closed. And only then did Kawasaki Saki realize her jaw was hanging open, the food slipping from her chopsticks back into the bowl. She had just seen Futaba go into the bathroom. But Rei-a was. The other people there were similarly unfazed. Sigh. Only Mai looked a bit weary. Even in front of other people, maybe they could pause and think first. Feeling that there was no help for it, she gave a rather flimsy explanation. Kawasaki-san, don't overthink it. We do this often. Just to save water. You know, water bills are expensive. Oh. Kawasaki Saki tugged at the corners of her mouth, not sure whether to believe it or not, and lowered her head to eat. Sora tugged on Ilya's sleeve with a confused look. Are we short on money? Ilya just glared back, picked up a chicken leg, and stuffed it into Sora's mouth. I told you, no sneaking around or whispering during meal times. Eat properly. MMPH. Sora muttered unclearly in protest, but the chicken leg was too tasty, and she started gnawing on it. Save water? Toru's eyes darted around. Wham! She put down her bowl and chopsticks. She stood up dramatically and shouted. I'm full. I'm going to take a bath, too. After all, we're saving water, right? Kawasaki Saki was utterly shocked. From Toru's eager look, she felt as if her worldviews were crumbling. Fortunately, Mai, who was wearing black stockings, pinned Toru's tail with a foot. Right at the tip. And glared daggers at her. Toru, you clean up the table. You're not going anywhere. Huh? That's not fair. Futaba was allowed. Mai felt her blood pounding in her temples. Just as she was about to explode. MMPH. A sound came from the bathroom, making the whole living room go silent. Kawasaki Saki was numb at this point. What on earth was going on? She was still there. Could they really be doing this? To break the awkward silence, Kawasaki Saki hurriedly stood up. I'd better go now. She ran off. Mai had a deep black line on her forehead. She never expected they'd really start bathing together right then and there. But came to think of it. When did Futaba become so proactive? Chapter 333, Shared Sensation. Futaba was unusually enthusiastic today. That was also something that piqued Rei-a's curiosity. As soon as he walked in, he asked. Futaba, you seem quite excited today? Her face was noticeably red. Futaba's eyes were hazy, and in halting words, she revealed the reason. It's because of Ryo. Several hours earlier. Heavily bundled up, Futaba met with Ryo at a cafe. You wanted to see me. What is it you want to say? Futaba got straight to the point. Ryo realized that the usual small talk she had prepared was unnecessary. She exhaled a deep breath. Ryo decided to speak frankly. Gazing seriously at Futaba's eyes behind the sunglasses, she asked, you and Ryo. You've confirmed a relationship that's more than just friends, right? Huh? The question took Futaba by surprise. But she didn't hide it. She simply nodded. Yes. We're in a relationship. I like him. How did you know? And why ask this? At Futaba's answer, Ryo's brows furrowed, revealing a hint of worry. She didn't immediately address Futaba's question. Instead, she lowered her head and stirred her coffee in silence. Just as Futaba was running out of patience, Ryo spoke again, her words shocking. Futaba, I want to ask you not to get too close to Rei-a. What? Futaba's eyes widened with confusion. Why? We like each other. Didn't you say you'd treat me as an independent person? I know. Ryo's head remained bowed. She remembered the promise she had made. If you know, why are you restricting my freedom? I'm telling you, I can't live without Rei-a anymore. I want to have his child. No matter what, Futaba could not accept Ryo's request. However, Rio looked up. Tears were shimmering in her eyes. Because I can't help it. Rio's sudden emotional outburst stunned Futaba. A wave of inexpressible grievance welled up in her own heart, and tears trickled down her cheeks. That strange sense of sadness left her completely at a loss. Rio said quietly. You've probably noticed it. Even if I acknowledge your separate identity, that doesn't change our essence. I am you, and you are me. We are one. So our sensations are also one. Rio continued. You asked how I knew you two had confirmed your relationship? Every time you're intimate, I feel it all. I've been torn apart by it. Having experienced it more than once, Rio had bottled up countless grievances, which now burst forth. Because she knew those intimacies belonged to Futaba alone and had nothing to do with her. It was the first time Futaba had heard of this, and she was speechless. There was no need for further explanation, she already sensed it. The sudden wave of heartbreak within her at this very moment belonged to Rio. After Rio's outburst and revelation, the atmosphere grew deathly quiet. A long time later, Futaba stood up. I understand. She said just that and left the cafe. Rio believed that, after understanding her pain, Futaba had finally agreed with her view. But that wasn't the case at all. For Futaba, leaving Rao was impossible. She was certain she had already been molded completely into his shape, she couldn't imagine life without him, nor did she want to endure such pain. Yet she also understood that focusing all attention on herself alone would be unfair to Rio. So she wanted Rio to feel that indescribable thrill as well. After hearing Futaba's explanation, Rao didn't know how to describe his feelings. The most straightforward reaction was that he felt even more excited. This was the first time he had learned about this shared sense condition between them. And Futaba could sense how exhilarated he was. Leaning against the tiled wall, she curved her lips into a smile, her hands softly stroking Rao's cheek beneath the flowing water. Speaking gently, she said, Rao, look at me. Right now, you're not just looking at Futaba. You're looking at Rio too. Futaba Rio. Please, let her know how much you love her. How much you love me. Rao grinned broadly. I understand. Rio, please accept my confession. Back at the home shared by Futaba and Rio. In the bedroom. Detecting no disturbance, Rio breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed she really had listened to what she said. Finally. I can get a decent night's sleep. She pulled up her covers, lay down, and closed her eyes. A moment later, in the darkness, Rio opened her eyes again. There was a hint of doubt in them. She couldn't sleep. Without the usual nighttime sensations or caresses, things were quieter than ever. Yet she felt no drowsiness at all. It was as if something was missing. Could it be that I'm sleeping in the wrong position? She was loath to admit it was because she had grown used to those shared feelings. She tried shifting her posture. But the instant she turned over, MMPH. A familiar sensation swept upward, jolting her from head to toe. Rio curled up. Why? The intensity made tears spring to her eyes. She didn't understand why Futaba was at it again, nor why her own body responded with such overwhelming excitement, as though returning home. Suddenly, in her ears, she seemed to hear Futaba and Rao talking. In her mind's eye, she seemed to see his face, so close under the shower's flow. Rio, accept my confession. As Rao spoke those words, Rio's eyes flew wide. In that instant, from Rao's gaze, she saw not Futaba but Rio. Futaba Rio. Herself. From that moment on, every one of Rao's declarations of love was directed at her, every movement shared with Rio. Alone under her blankets, Rio's eyes grew hazy. This is cheating. You're cheating. Leaving only that faint protest behind, Rio's defenses collapsed. She understood then. She had simply been jealous of Rao's love for Futaba all along. But now, that love was something she, too, could receive and feel. Rao. I love you. The words came from Futaba's mouth, but Rao could clearly tell it was Rio speaking. He couldn't help but smile. Rio, I got your message. In that case, I suppose I should show some sincerity as well. And nothing demonstrates sincerity quite like cranking the sewing machine up to full speed. Chapter 334, Teenage Girl, Idol. Rush. In an old, run-down house lived a family of 3. Just like the state of the house, their life was very frugal. The beautiful girl Rao had encountered, Chiragain, was one member of this household. The other 2 were her down-and-out father and her older brother, Chiragain Miyuki. As for their mother, she was already divorced from their father. When K's mother left the Chiragain family, she wanted to take the smarter child. Because Miyuki's grades had been poor when he was young, his mother took and left Miyuki behind. However, after her mother got a new boyfriend and started living with him, K's stress gradually piled up. Although the boyfriend wasn't a bad person, He was still a stranger to her. And a man. Which was difficult for a teenage girl to accept. Coupled with her guilt toward her father and brother, and the pain of not agreeing with her mother's methods, ultimately decided to follow her own wishes and return to live with her father and brother. Still, she knew she was growing up and naturally understood the concept of maintaining a proper distance between males and females. She kept things respectable with her brother and didn't wear revealing clothes around the house. Her family was currently very poor, even the dishes on their dinner table were incredibly simple. Shirogane Miyuki was the type of person who studied intensely, gulping down his meal so as not to waste any study time. All of a sudden, he recalled something and said to K, "Your bicycle's fixed now. Be sure to take extra care next time you ride it. It's pretty old." Their father sighed and added, "Once I earn some money, I'll buy you a new one." Okay, replied with a nod. Hearing mention of the bicycle brought her thoughts back to what had happened that morning. She remembered that her brother was a third-year student too. Out of curiosity, she asked, "Hey, Anya-chan, do you know a senpai named Rei-ao?" Rei-ao? Instantly, Miyuki zeroed in on that name. Looking shocked, he asked, "You know him?" Their father also paused, looking over in surprise. Apparently it was a boy's name. The father's radar went off. Felt embarrassed by their piercing stares. She shrank back slightly and explained. "My bicycle broke down while I was trying to ride uphill the other day. I ran into a senior named Rei-ao, and he helped me push it to school." "Oh, so that's what happened. I thought maybe you two already knew each other," Miyuki said, sounding a bit disappointed. Grew even more curious and asked, "So, you do know him?" "Of course." Miyuki perked up. "He's my idol." "Huh?" Tilted her head. It sounded like this Rei-ao senior was something special. Miyuki became animated as he told her all about how Rei-ao had risen from obscurity to claim first place across all subjects with perfect scores. An inspiring feat. For Miyuki, who came from a struggling background, Rei-ao was a huge role model. He had always taken Rei-ao as his goal. All subject first place. "That's amazing!" exclaimed, mouth agape. Hearing this, their father stroked his chin thoughtfully. If that was the kind of boy K had met, then perhaps he really was worthy of his precious daughter. If his daughter knew he was thinking that, she'd probably give him a good smack, their father said. "Since he's a classmate who helped you, let's invite him over someday to properly thank him." "Huh?" K had also considered thanking Rei-ao, but seeing their run-down home and the meager food on the table, she couldn't help lowering her head in self-consciousness. "Father." Miyuki also realized how awkward their current financial state was, so he felt a bit confused about his father's decision. But when he noticed his father's meaningful look, it dawned on him. His sister was a teenage girl who might develop feelings, so their father wanted to see what kind of person Rei-ao was before letting K spend time around him. If Rei-ao ended up looking down on their poverty, then K would see the reality, and it would keep her from any far-fetched teenage fantasies. Miyuki could understand his father's thinking, but he didn't like the idea of viewing his idol in such a negative light. Still, their father had made up his mind. "It's settled. When he comes, we'll treat him well." K hung her head, lost in thought. At the Yatsuya household, they had just finished dinner when Tako Yatsuya grabbed Maiko and asked, "Maiko, why hasn't Rei-ao been over to visit recently?" They were a couple, yet were rarely seen together. Maiko blushed and her heart began to pound. Because if she wanted Rei-ao to come, she'd have to strike another trade. Each time, she had to go to the field and do the plowing. That was so embarrassing she couldn't say it out loud. She could only gloss over the question with, He'll come in a few days." "Oh, good. We really ought to show him our thanks," her mother said. Rei-ao's protective charm had been so effective. Any evil spirit within a 100-meter radius was destroyed, so they no longer had to live in constant fear. "Maiko, let me know when Rei-ao is coming. I'll make a special husband's meal for him," Tako said earnestly. "Ugh, I will." After that, Maiko spun around and dashed back to her room. Watching her go, Tako Yatsuya shook her head with a smile, thinking Maiko's embarrassed. They might be even closer than I realized. Maybe they've already. Sigh, I hope they're taking the right safety measures, she thought, cheeks turning a bit red. She felt she should provide them with something for protection, but she didn't have any personal experience with that herself. Phew. Safely escaping her mother's questioning, Maiko let out a breath of relief. She was really worried her mother would insist Rei-ao come over right this second. Flopping onto her bed, she took out her phone and noticed messages from Hana. "Hana, Maiko, have you had dinner yet?" "Maiko, I have. Just finished, actually." "Maiko, hey, Hana, have you had any more sudden hunger attacks lately?" "Hana, nope. Ever since you gave me the protective charm, they're totally gone. It's really working." "Maiko, That's good. Seeing that her best friend was no longer being harmed by evil spirits, which had been making her constantly starving, Maiko felt relieved. Hana, so I want to thank that friend of yours who gave me the charm. When can I meet him? Maiko, She started to sweat. She was trying to dodge her mom's request, and now Hana was pressing her too. This felt more stressful than going to some scary place. Maiko, tough, in a few days. Hana, alright. She'd brushed her off yet again. Hana, oh, by the way, tomorrow's the weekend. Want to go draw fortunes at the shrine? Maiko, sure. Maiko was planning to draw a love fortune to see how things might go between her and Rayao. Imagining walking down the aisle with him made her so embarrassed that she buried her face in her pillow. Hana, great, that's settled then. Chapter 335, Hero and the Demon King. Heavenly Realm. Have you heard? The diplomatic mission sent to negotiate with the Dragon Realm seems to have safely returned. Of course I've heard. It was led by Zil, the strongest seraph. How enviable. Several angels were heatedly discussing this on the side of the road in the holy city of the Heavenly Realm. They completely failed to notice a striking golden figure passing leisurely right beside them. Her name was Zil White Tenma. That was her name. She was also the seraph those angels were talking about. Having just returned from the Dragon Realm, she had no mind for anything else right now. She went straight home. I'm back. The moment she stepped through the door. Welcome home. Knowing she was returning, her parents had already been waiting for her. There was, however, one person missing. Her younger sister, Gabriel. Where's Gabriel? She's been assigned to the human realm to observe a certain awakened one there. Oh, really? Zilla was a little surprised. The human realm, huh? She appeared to be thinking. Perhaps she should find some time to visit her sister in the human realm? On the Holy Cross continent of Ante-Isla. Amid the ruins of the Demon King's castle. A silver-haired young girl in silver armor, gripping a holy sword, had cut down numerous demons along the way to get here. She was the hero. A hero who existed for the sole purpose of slaying the Demon King. She had come here with a single objective, defeat the Demon King. Without a doubt, she had just done so. The evidence of her victory could be seen all around, the signs of destruction everywhere and the Demon King's broken horn on the ground. But after leaving a harsh vow that he would return, the Demon King leapt into a dimensional rift and fled. Normally, the hero would return home at this point. However, unwilling to let him escape, she clenched her fist tightly and stared at the still closing dimensional rift. Her thoughts went back to her past. Her name was Amelia Justina. She was born in a poor village on the western continent of Ante-Isla. Her father was Nord Justina, a farmer. She lived with her father in the countryside until she was 12, when one day the priests of the Grand Holy Church took her away to train her as a future hero who would defeat the Demon King. On the very next day, she learned that her hometown had been destroyed by the Demon King's army and her father's whereabouts were unknown. Having seen how cruel demons could be, Amelia, upon witnessing her ravaged home, concluded that her father was dead. Driven by revenge, she vowed to bring down the Demon King's forces. At 13, she joined the Border Defense Forces. In her first battle, she was too terrified to be of any use. Afterward, she gradually grew strong enough to lead the church's knights to capture various strongholds of the Demon King's army, becoming a knight captain recognized among humans by titles like Holy Knight. During this time, she gained the allies who would later help her in the decisive battle at the Demon King's castle. At 16, she became capable of wielding the Holy Sword, officially becoming the hero. One by one, she defeated the Demon King's 3 generals, liberating 3 of the continents. Then she rallied the human armies to invade the central continent from 3 sides, finally getting a chance to avenge her father by confronting the one responsible for his death. There was no way she could watch the Demon King escape and just let it go. Amelia, we did it. At that moment, her companions, having finished off the demons outside the castle, arrived. Seeing no trace of the Demon King, they were overjoyed. No, it's not over yet. Amelia suddenly fixed her gaze on the dimensional rift, her eyes set with determination. I must kill the Demon King. Amid the astonished looks of her companions, she leapt straight into the closing dimensional rift. At the same time, it snapped shut. Her companions looked at one another, unsure what to do next. The human world. Crash. In a dark alley, a stray cat was rummaging through the trash, when suddenly, crack. A fissure opened in the very air. Meow. Startled, the cat jumped, its fur standing on end, and crouched low, staring warily at the spatial rift. Crack. A foot emerged. Meow. Seeing the 2-legged creature appear, the stray cat dashed off. Where is this? A black-haired man in a cloak, accompanied by a slightly taller blonde man, walked out of the crack. I'm not sure. There's some kind of energy here that's different from magic. The blond man observed the surroundings keenly. Suddenly, his eyes went wide. Pointing a shaking finger at the black-haired man, he shouted. Imao-sama. You. What about me? Sadalmao, Satan, looked at him, puzzled. Huh? You're Alciel? The person before him looked both familiar and strange. Alciel was a high-ranking demon. One of the Demon King's 4 generals, a demon grand marshal, commander of the Eastern Invasion Army of Ente Isla. But right now, Alciel had none of his usual imposing demonic aura. There was no sign of anything demonic in him, he appeared completely human. Alciel was similarly confused. Mao-sama, the horns on your head. They're gone. What? Hearing that, the Demon King reached up to feel for his horns, but touched nothing at all. Then he looked at his hand. Human skin, a human palm. So foreign to him? Why have we turned into humans? They were definitely demons. Shocked by this discovery, Alciel murmured. Perhaps it's because this place has no magic. This definitely isn't Ente Isla. Whatever the case, they first had to figure out where they were. Before long, using the last of the magic power in his body, the Demon King hypnotized a passerby and read their memories. Then the two of them realized what had happened. In order to establish a paradise for demons, the Demon King had led Adrimlich, Ashiel, Lucifer, and Malakada, his 4 demon grand marshals, into the human lands. But the hero wielding a holy sword appeared and, when the Demon King was on the verge of conquering the world, she defeated him. He fled here in desperation. Yet now he'd been turned into the very being he despised the most. A human. How ironic. Mao-sama, what do we do now? Alciel asked gravely. In this place, with next to no magic, they were in a dangerous situation. Deep in thought, the Demon King sifted through the new information in his mind about this world. After a long moment, a sharp glint appeared in his eyes as he came to a conclusion. Raising his right hand, he cracked an ominous grin. Alciel, we'll conquer this world, and then we'll return to Ente Isla and reclaim it. Mao-sama. Alciel was profoundly moved by the Demon King's resolve. Humphrey. You too, in your current pathetic state, think you can conquer the world? Where do you get the nerve? Who's there? Chapter 336, M.G. Ronald's favorite employee. A mocking voice came from behind. The Demon King Satan and Alciel turned around at the same time. They saw a man studying them with an amused expression. It was Rayao. What a coincidence. His home wasn't too far from here. Sensing something unusual, he came over to check it out. And these two, who he recognized, really made him laugh. Name, Demon King Satan, level, 2 to 5, lacking magic, abilities, name, Alciel, level, 2 to 5, lacking magic, abilities, putting himself aside, the power of these two would normally allow them to run rampant in the human realm. However, because of how their magic was converted, they were now severely weakened. No different from ordinary humans. Even though they knew their own weakened state, they still shouted about conquering the world, which was pretty funny. In the end, they'd probably end up in a work for a living, Demon King situation. Who are you? The Demon King Satan and Alciel were on high alert. Rayao. A human from this world. Rayao smirked. Instead of questioning me, shouldn't you two visitors from another world first explain what you meant by wanting to conquer the world? Under Rayao's inquisitive gaze, they felt immense pressure. This man was definitely no ordinary person. Exchanging looks, they reached a decision: run. They turned and fled without hesitation. After a short while, the two, now far away, leaned against a wall, gasping for air. Their current bodies were so weak that just running left them breathless. Huff. He didn't follow us, right? Satan looked back and saw no sign of Rayao. Your Majesty. Look ahead. Alciel gestured to the front. Huh? Satan turned to see Rayao, looking completely at ease as he watched them. He even had the leisure to wave at them. You can keep running if you want. Satan's lip twitched. By now it was clear that this man was anything but normal. Satan still had a little magic power left and was already wondering if he should gamble at all. Seeing his expression, Rayao decided he'd had enough. Stop. I'm not here to capture you. Satan stifled the urge to use his remaining power. What do you want? My goal is simply to check out you two newcomers, Rayao answered with a faint smile. Though I have to say, I wasn't expecting to hear you shouting about conquering the world the moment I arrived. I can't really ignore that. Satan and Alciel both looked embarrassed. Shouting about world domination and getting caught by a local. Talk about awkward. Never mind. I can't tell neither of you is too bright, so let me give you a rundown of this world. He explained the general structure of the world, the concept of other worlds, and the uniqueness of the human realm. While the two were still dumbfounded, Rael spoke again, this time coldly. This world isn't in the same chaos as your holy cross continent, Ente Isla. It's in a relatively stable, peaceful phase, so don't stir up any trouble. They had no reply for that. Humans, angels, and demons living together in peace. This world was nothing like theirs. Wait. Suddenly, Satan realized something. How do you know about Ente Isla? We never mentioned it. Alciel also caught on. Right. They hadn't once said where they were from. At once, both became tense again. Rael remained calm and unruffled. Your world has been trading with this one for a while. I've even captured a few demons who came from your side. And... He paused. A black aura spread from his body. In that instant, Satan and Alciel felt themselves facing something terrifying and dropped to their knees, foreheads pressed to the ground. I am the Demon King. The Demon King? Alciel's voice quivered in shock, and even Satan understood now. Their bow was a subconscious, uncontrollable response, as if their instincts were screaming at them that the person before them was a true Demon King, one they must submit to. Shortly after, Rael withdrew his aura. It felt as though an immense weight had been lifted from the two as they stood, faces pale. Especially Alciel. He was sworn to serve Satan, yet the Demon King before them seemed to be the real deal. Don't look so glum. Other worlds have demons and demon kings too, but your level of purity isn't high enough, Rael remarked, pointing at them. Just look at yourselves now, taking human form. You're this weak the moment you lose your magic. They couldn't argue, but that didn't make it feel any better. A mighty demon king Satan and a grand demon general Alciel. Now being dismissed as demons of insufficient purity. The worst part was that their bodies had instinctively submitted to this man's aura. Seeing them come down, Rael had no intention of lingering. Remember what I said. As long as you don't cause trouble, no one will harm you. If you plan to live in this world, I won't stand in your way. But if people from heaven or the demon realm come to investigate you, cooperate. They hung their heads without speaking. Rael raised an eyebrow and repeated in a low voice. Got it? The overwhelming pressure descended on them once more. The pair snapped to attention. Why yes. Good. Satisfied with their reaction, Rael nodded and left. Another long silence passed. Once they were certain Rael was gone, Alciel couldn't help but wipe the cold sweat from his forehead, his back soaked through. That Demon King. He's so strong, so terrifying. He was still trembling at the memory. He'd never felt such pressure from anyone before. My lord, what do we do now? Do we still try to conquer the world? Satan's eyelid twitched. With someone like that in this world, conquer it? Yeah, right. Gr. His stomach growled. Rubbing it, he said feebly. Let's just find something to eat first. Huh? Alciel blinked. But our glorious plan. Gr. He was cut off by his own rumbling stomach. An awkward silence filled the air. Both slumped their shoulders, dejected. All right, let's eat first, Alciel said, his voice full of lament. Chapter 337, Amelia Justina damn it, he got away. On a road with traffic lights, a red-haired girl did not look pleased. She was none other than the hero Amelia, who had come to chase down the Demon King. After arriving here, she not only failed to catch the Demon King but also lost her supply of holy mana. Now, she couldn't even maintain the battle form of her holy sword. To be safe, she withdrew from her combat stance, reserving that last sliver of holy mana for emergencies. Which way should I go? Everything here felt unfamiliar to her. Whether it was the towering buildings stretching endlessly in the east or the dazzling neon lights, everything she saw made her head spin. With no sense of direction, Amelia could only take a step forward, right onto the crosswalk. Even though the light was still red. Beep, beep, beep. As she walked, a sudden urgent sound rang out in her ears. Turning her head, she saw a steel contraption with lights blazing, barreling straight toward her. A sense of danger made Amelia instinctively draw her holy sword. Hey, get out of the way. The truck driver was horrified to see someone right in front of him. A sudden pedestrian out of nowhere. He was practically scared stiff. He slammed on the brakes in a panic, but the truck refused to stop in time. And that person, neither too close nor too far, was just standing there holding a sword, like some statue. Crap. The truck driver felt his future life flashing before his eyes. 1 second, it looked like the truck's front end was about to hit Amelia. The next, Amelia seemed about to slash the truck with her sword. And then, emptiness. In the span of a heartbeat, time and space seemed to freeze. The truck halted right before the holy sword came down. The sharp intake of breath echoed in the silence. Rael stepped casually onto the sidewalk, walking right up to Amelia. He glanced at the sword that could slice a bus in half with one strike and shook his head in exasperation. Do all of you from the Holy Cross continent love causing trouble? One was trying to conquer the world, the other not only ran a red light but also nearly sliced both vehicle and driver in half. He wrapped his right arm around her waist, lifted her off the ground, and carried her toward the roadside. The moment his foot left the crosswalk, time started moving again. Ah! An ear-splitting screech of brakes pierced the air at the intersection. The truck skidded for quite a while, leaving black tire marks on the road before finally stopping. The driver scrambled out to check, but after inspecting the front, back, left, right, everywhere, he saw no sign of a person being hit. No damage to the truck either. Already prepared to end up in jail, the driver scratched his head in bewilderment. That's strange. Did I imagine it? But he definitely hadn't imagined it. Far away, Raoul was already striding off with Amelia in tow. At that moment, Amelia, who had been in a daze, suddenly realized she was being carried. Put me down. She flailed her arms and legs in an attempt to break free of Raoul's hold, but no matter what she did, it was useless. It was like being caught by a giant, she couldn't escape. Are you sure you want me to let go? Raoul paused and asked. Let me go. Amelia glared fiercely at him. All right then. Raoul shrugged and promptly let go of her waist. Wah! Amelia toppled straight to the ground, face planting. Ignoring the pain, she sprang up and pointed her sword at Raoul. Who are you? You people from the Holy Cross continent always want to question someone else first. Ever heard of introducing yourself? Seeing her serious expression, Raoul guessed there was no chance she would go first with a proper introduction. Raoul. That's my name. I'm from this world. Almost everyone in this world is an ordinary human being. One slash of that sword of yours could kill someone. By the way, I should remind you, if you go around like this, people will think you're a total weirdo. He gestured to the onlookers who had gathered around, pointing and whispering. Huh? Amelia then noticed that she was surrounded, and her mind began processing Raoul's words swiftly. First, this place was not some land outside the Holy Cross continent. Second, most people here were indeed ordinary. She scanned the crowd. None of them showed any signs of having been in brutal fights before. After a moment's standoff, Raoul made no move, and there didn't seem to be any immediate threat. So Amelia chose to put away her holy sword and asked in a low voice. Did something just happen? Yeah, a little incident. But this isn't the best place to talk. Why don't we go somewhere else and take our time? Amelia, worried it might be a trap, was about to refuse when her growling stomach interrupted her. See? You're hungry. We can talk over a meal. My treat. Raoul pointed to a nearby ramen shop. That place serves pretty good noodles. Amelia wasn't sure what ramen was, but one thing was clear. Without her holy mana, her body was weak, and she was starving. She pursed her pink lips, hesitating. Fine. 30 minutes later, in a late-night ramen shop that was otherwise empty, slurp. Glug glug. Glug glug. Amelia truly was famished. Hunched over a bowl of ramen, she slurped it down in big mouthfuls, not caring about appearances at all. To be honest, seeing a pretty girl devouring food so heartily was somehow quite appetizing, to the point that Raoul, who hadn't been hungry, felt tempted to get a bowl for himself. But Amelia ate even faster than he did. After draining her soup, she slammed her bowl onto the table with a loud thunk, and shouted. Another one. Raoul glanced at the stack of empty bowls towering to one side, his eyelid twitching. Ahem, food is food, but let's talk about business. Oh, right. Only then did Amelia remember her purpose. Her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. She had never tasted anything so delicious before and had lost control of her appetite. At the same time, she now thought of this person, who treated her to food, as a good person. But remembering how she had just been pointing her sword at him made her feel guilty. Grabbing a napkin to wipe her mouth, she quickly composed herself. Raoul-san, my name is Amelia. I'm a hero from the Holy Cross continent Sente Isla, here to pursue the Demon King Satan. Oh? Amelia blinked her lovely eyes. That was all he had to say? Raoul indicated he already knew about the Demon King. He had even met him. Beyond that, what else could he say? Giving a no was already polite enough, in his view. Rather than that, let me tell you what just happened, and also explain a few things about this world. Chapter 338, Need a Shelter? It took Raoul some time to give Amelia a simple explanation of how this world is structured. He also emphasized that cars serve as a means of transportation, and that running a red light causes trouble for ordinary people. So if I had slashed him with my sword back then, he might have died? Amelia was a bit shaken. Her only purpose is to defeat demons, not to kill humans. If she really did kill an ordinary person because of some misunderstanding in a strange new place, she wouldn't be able to forgive herself. Thank you for stepping in at that time. Although she still didn't quite understand how she ended up being carried off in Rao's arms, Amelia sincerely thanked him. I'll accept your thanks, Rao replied with a wave of his hand. But let's talk about what happens next. You crossed into the human world through a spatial rift, yet you don't know the coordinates of the Holy Cross continent, so you can't go back for now. Amelia's expression darkened. Not being able to return isn't the biggest issue. The bigger problem is that the Demon King is still alive. Wait. The Demon King. Suddenly remembering this, Amelia hurriedly said. Besides me, there are 2 other demons who likely arrived in this world. They're extremely dangerous. One is the Demon King Satan, the other is the Great Demon Marshal. I have to find and destroy them. But after hearing her, Rao still looked unmoved. This made Amelia both anxious and frustrated. She assumed it was because Rao didn't understand how dangerous demons and the Demon King could be. She was just about to explain further. But Rao spoke first. I've already met the 2 you're talking about. The moment Amelia heard anything about the Demon King, she slammed the table and stood up. Where are they? Sit down so I don't have to look up at you. It hurts my neck. Rao calmly gestured for her to relax. But how could Amelia not be agitated? The whole reason she'd come here was to slay the Demon King. Unfortunately, if she refused to sit, Rao wouldn't so much as glance at her, let alone speak to her. With no other choice, Amelia had to force herself to calm down and sit. Once she settled her emotions, she asked. Phew. Okay, will you tell me now? This time, Rao finally looked at her. But all he did was shake his head. Huh? You're not trying to mess with me, are you? Amelia felt like she was being toyed with. I'm not that bored. I just want to tell you that they're in the same situation you are. They can't convert this world's energy, so they've reverted to humans. Nothing more than ordinary humans. Just as Amelia herself lost her holy power and reverted from the silver-haired hero to a red-haired girl. Rao's gaze fixed on her. Even if I told you where they are, could you truly bring yourself to kill them now that they're just ordinary humans? Amelia was taken aback. They've lost their powers as well? And without their demonic energy, they've become human? She could see no reason for Rao to lie about that. Trying to imagine it the way Rao described, Amelia realized that she really wouldn't be able to strike down a Demon King who had become just another powerless human. Rao continued. Besides, you're in the human world now, so you need to follow human laws, not the laws of the Holy Cross continent. One day, if you return to Ente Isla, you can fight all you want. But not here. But the Demon King is dangerous. Amelia was still reluctant. Don't worry. I've already found them and given them a warning. And soon the angels from heaven will know about them as well. Someone will be keeping an eye on them. Rao had said enough that Amelia couldn't refute him. This is a peaceful world, and she had no desire to destroy that peace. All right, I understand. I'll abide by the rules of this world. She also wanted to repay Rao for preventing her from making what could have been a terrible mistake, so she didn't push the issue. Still, she had one condition. In a while, let me see them myself. I want to make sure they really are as you say. No problem. Rao readily agreed. Then he switched topics. You should probably be more concerned about your own situation now. My situation? You mean trying to get back to Ente Isla? Amelia raised an eyebrow. I don't have any way of doing that right now. I know. Rao nodded, then shook his head. But I mean another problem, you don't seem to have any place to go. Here, you need money even just to eat. Boss, bill please. Right in front of her, Rao paid the bill in cash. She understood the concept of currency. Only then did she realize that she had no money in this world. Or even a place to stay. Was she destined to sleep on the streets? She was at a loss. Hey. Rao's lips curved into the faintest hint of a smile. If you really have no ideas, you can stay at my place for now. Oh really? Amelia's eyes lit up. Of course. My place has provided shelter to quite a few people. Granted, that usually meant pretty young women. But Amelia could be one of them. Thank you so much. At Rao's home, Futaba, having just gone through a very intense experience, was out cold, and the others had already gone to bed. It couldn't be helped. Rao had been dealing with Futaba and Rio both. Since he wanted Rio to experience his intense sense of possessiveness, naturally he had to satisfy both of them. So Futaba had taken twice the impact. This will be your guest room for tonight. I'll introduce you to the others in the morning. Oh. Okay. Rao also showed her how to use the bathroom, how to bathe, where the towels were, and so on. Take a good bath, relax, and get some rest. After Rao returned to his own room, Amelia went alone into the bathroom. Removing her clothes, she turned on the shower as Rao had shown her. Splish, splash. She felt the warm water flowing across her fingertips. Lifting her head, she stared at the soft glow of the lights on the ceiling. Amelia's gaze was dazed. She had never imagined she would come to a completely different world. Everything she'd seen was so foreign, and she'd nearly made a terrible mistake and felt utterly lost. Fortunately, she'd met Rao. Otherwise, she might really be wandering the streets right now. What should I do from here? Amelia was deeply confused. She couldn't return home. She was in an unfamiliar world. The Demon King had lost his powers. Everything was so uncertain. She let the hot water cascade from her head down her curves. Right now, Amelia just wanted to empty her mind. Chapter 339, Half Angel, Half Human. The next morning, Rao briefly explained Amelia's identity to Toru and the others. A hero from another world? Toru was a little surprised. Her dragon pupils locked onto Amelia. After a moment, she pursed her lips and commented, "So weak." Weak? Amelia couldn't stand being called weak. "It's just that I can't replenish my holy mana, that's all." In response, Rao stated a harsh truth quite plainly. "Amelia, I don't want to discourage you, but you should know that Toru is a dragon from the dragon realm. She can destroy the surface of an entire world." Destroy the surface? Amelia pictured the Holy Cross continent being wiped out. She was dumbfounded, the little tuft of hair on her head drooping in dismay. Wasn't that description of Toru's power a little too straightforward and brutal? Name, Amelia, level, 25, lacking holy mana, abilities, holy magic, holy sword technique, holy body arts, holy fist arts, angel bloodline, possessions, anti-evil holy garb, holy sword, better half. Though Amelia was a hero from another world, capable of defeating a demon king and carrying angelic blood, she truly wasn't on the same level as Toru. In fact, no one on the entire Holy Cross continent could even come close. Anyway, since she has nowhere else to go, she'll stay here for now. Futaba, Toru, Ilya. I'd like you three to look after her and teach her some basic life skills. Got it. The three of them nodded. The only one not named, Sora, raised her hands in protest. What about me? What about me? Sora, you can just enjoy life. Rao had no expectations that Sora, who was even more mischievous, would be able to teach Amelia anything. Humphrey, don't underestimate me, master. I'll teach her. Teach her. Teach her what, exactly? Sora bowed her head in thought. Aside from magic, she couldn't think of anything else resembling a practical life skill to pass on. Seeing her so earnest, the others couldn't help smiling wryly. After settling Amelia's arrangement, Rao turned to Mai, let's head to school. Then the two of them left. As soon as they stepped out, they bumped into the four Lalas at Gabriel's doorway. Master. Satania was the first to greet him. What a coincidence. Want to go to school together? Rao extended an invitation, winking at the listless Gabriel among the four. Gabriel avoided his gaze, her face flushing slightly. It was only natural, given how many embarrassing things she had experienced around him. Raphael eyed Rao curiously, as if sensing something out of place, but she merely put aside her doubts for now and smiled. Sure. Master, I've gotten stronger lately. On the way to school, Satania held Rao's hand, chattering about her live streams. Rao listened kindly, offering occasional words of praise. He actually liked how lively Satania was. Meanwhile, Vignette didn't quite know how to feel about their closeness. Ever since she saw Satania in the bathroom, using her own hands while muttering master, Vignette could no longer view their ordinary interactions the same way. It left her feeling strangely sour and uncomfortable. Raphael, for her part, kept her eyes on Rao the entire time. Walking shoulder to shoulder with Gabriel, she quietly asked, Gab, don't you think Rao has a very familiar feel about him? Huh? Half asleep, Gabriel glanced over and then looked away again. No idea. Raphael was speechless. Ever since Gabriel had become addicted to gaming, she had grown lazier by the day. Left with no choice, Raphael sped up to catch Rao and asked him directly, Rao, I have a question for you. Hearing her speak, Satania fell silent at once. What is it? After a brief hesitation, Raphael voiced her thoughts. Have you been in contact with any other angels? I sense an angelic aura on you. Angel? Satania, Vignette, and Mai all turned curious looks his way. No. Aside from Raphael and Gabriel, Rao hadn't interacted with any other angels. Really? Just as Raphael was about to assume she was mistaken, Rao continued, however, I did meet a hero from another world who seems to be half angel, half human. Someone's daughter, apparently. Huh? They all gaped at him. An angel-human hybrid from another world. Just hearing it put together like that sounded astounding. You really should have told us about that earlier, Raphael complained. Handling otherworldly beings who arrive in the human realm was part of their job as angels, after all. Haha. It was the middle of the night, and I didn't want to disturb your sleep. I was planning to tell you today, anyway, Rael said with a shrug. So there are currently 3 people who've crossed over. All of them come from Ente Isla on the Holy Cross continent, which we heard about recently. That's the world with demons, right? Vignette remembered it clearly. That's right. Rael nodded and went on pointedly. Besides the hero, the other 2 are demons. One is the Demon King, and the other is the Demon King's Grand Marshal. Huh? From the demons they dealt with before, Vignette's first thought was that demons were extremely dangerous. The mere mention of a Demon King made it sound even worse. A threat beyond comprehension. Yet Satania's eyes lit up in excitement for an entirely different reason. A Demon King? Is he really strong? Really awesome? After all, it was a Demon King. With a pat, Rael's large hand came down on her head. It's just a Demon King. What's there to be excited about? He said. Didn't I tell you that I'm also a Demon King? Huh? Satania blinked her big, round eyes. You never said that. She shook her head, clearly confused. Vignette tentatively raised a hand. Rael, I haven't actually mentioned that to Satania yet. Oh, Rael said without a hint of awkwardness. He kept ruffling Satania's hair. Well, I'm telling you now, I'm also a Demon King. You only need to worship me, Satania. Why would his little fangirl be interested in some other Demon King, anyway? Master is a Demon King? Satania practically squealed, as if this news had blown her mind. I'm your student, which means I'm the Demon King's successor you chose, Master. The more Satania thought about it, the more excited she became. Rael simply smiled without saying anything. Rather than a successor, he preferred the idea of a Demon Queen. Even if Satania was a bit of an airhead, he figured she could still make a fine addition as one of his Demon King's consorts. Chapter 340, Teasing, Starved Woman. Raphael did not join Satania in making a fuss. Instead, she put on an extremely serious expression. If it's the Demon Kings, it could be dangerous. I need to report this to heaven. Habit off to the side, Gabriel let out a huge yawn. She said lazily. It's fine, there's no need to rush and report. Even Rael isn't worried, so it's definitely nothing dangerous. After hearing Gabriel's words, Raphael thought about it and realized it made sense. Rael only mentioned it after a whole night had passed, it probably wasn't anything major. Unexpectedly, Raphael then gave a strange look. She sensed that Gabriel seemed really familiar with Rael. No wonder they did that kind of thing. Rael also chimed in after Gabriel. Indeed, there's no need to worry. People from the Holy Cross continent can't easily convert this world's special energies. Sacred aura or mana. After coming here. So whether they're heroes or demons, even the Demon King is as weak as an ordinary person. Besides, he had personally gone to warn the Demon King last night, and as for the hero, Taru was watching him at Rael's house. Hearing this, Raphael finally relaxed. Alright, then tonight we'll meet his hero ourselves and report the details to heaven. Sure, you're welcome anytime. They arrived at class 313. Good morning, Rael. Just as he reached his seat, 2 people greeted him. One was his sweet little girlfriend, Megami. The other was the girl who sat behind him, Hayato Michiru. Good morning to both of you as well. Michiru didn't come over just for a simple greeting. She spoke awkwardly. Rael, about when my friends were teasing before. Please don't mind it. Teasing? Rael's lips curved slightly, showing a hint of a smile. You mean how they all said we look good together, like a couple? Their eyes met briefly before she quickly looked away, her ears turning a little red. Michiru could only nod lightly. Yes, that was exactly what she was referring to. Telling him not to mind it was really just her own way of saying she was the one who minded it the most. It wasn't that she disliked the idea. After all, Rael had helped her several times since she transferred schools, and he was easygoing and pleasant to talk to. He was also neat in appearance, leaving a good initial impression. On top of that, her friends kept bringing him up and teasing her about him. Even she couldn't help feeling a certain interest in a boy who left such a good impression in every way. Because of all that, they joked about a possible couple-like vibe over the weekend, and the idea had rippled in her mind without ever settling down. Now, suddenly confronting the topic again, part of her was simply reacting from embarrassment, but more than that, she really wanted to know what Rael thought of her. Or perhaps she couldn't stop wondering about these teasing. Haha, it's fine. If that sort of thing were to happen, I'd be the one who should be happy about it. Why would I mind? Huh? Michiru, you're both cute and a music prodigy. Who wouldn't be delighted to have a girlfriend like that? Eh? In an instant, Michiru's face turned red as a ripe apple. She never thought Rei-Ao would respond that way. So straightforward and embarrassingly direct. It was outright praise and approval. Ugh. Seeing Michiru look so flustered, Megumi immediately knew Rei-Ao had already begun courting Michiru. Even right in front of his actual girlfriend. However, Megumi didn't seem to mind at all. In her view, having one more or one fewer rival didn't really matter. Her sigh was actually directed at her sister, who still hadn't made much of a move. Sis, you've got one more competitor now. Michiru, mortified, didn't know how to continue the conversation for the moment. Ring ring ring. Luckily, the bell signaling the start of class saved her. Then, class is starting. I'll head back now. Michiru ran back with a flushed face. Once seated, she didn't dare look up again. Megumi gave Rei-Ao a meaningful smile before leaving, too. Noticing Megumi didn't mind, Rei-Ao felt relieved. Indeed, his most beloved Megumi always understood him. Class is starting. A stern voice sounded. It was Hiratsuka Shizuka. She stepped onto the platform and stared fixedly at Rei-Ao. Anyone else might have thought she was simply in a bad mood or that it was her time of the month. But Rei-Ao could see a certain desire lurking in her eyes. He grinned. That one little gesture made Hiratsuka Shizuka's expression change dramatically. In the chat group of people from this world, all of a sudden, Rei-Ao spoke up. Rei-Ao, Hiratsuka Shizuka, you look pretty starved for affection. Feeling unloved? Reading that message, Shizuka nearly buckled at the knees. Because it was true. She was extremely starved for affection. Having gone a few days without any intimacy with her boyfriend, she was about to lose control. That surging desire was unlike anything she had felt before. Just now, her gaze had indeed been an instinctive signal, silently pleading for affection. She hadn't expected Rei-Ao to see right through it. Miro Yumiko, what the heck, class just started, right? Ogata Rizu, Hiratsuka Shizuka. Is that our history teacher, Hiratsuka-sensei? Hiratsuka Shizuka, why yes, it's me. Shizuka wanted to vanish on the spot. At some point, another one of her students, Ogata Rizu from Class 1, had also joined the group. Machida Sanoko, oh? Another new member in the group? Kasumajoka Utaha, another one of our classmates. Ogata Rizu, yes, please, take care of me. Hiratsuka Shizuka, ahem, Rei-Ao, you added a new member to the group again? Why not at least give us a heads up or introduce them? Fearing that Rei-Ao would reveal her private thoughts to everyone, Shizuka quickly changed the subject. Rei-Ao, Ogata Rizu ended up in another world by accident not long ago, and I brought her back. That's why I added her here. Yuagahama Yua, eh? So this newbie also went to another world? Ogata Rizu, yes. It was quite the accident. I almost got into big trouble, thankfully, Rei-Ao saved me. Yuagahama Yua, am I the only one who hasn't been to another world? Kobashi, I haven't been either. Kato Hiromi, me neither. Kawasaki Saki, same here. Yuagahama Yua, oh, so there are others like me, haha. Before long, the conversation had shifted away from Shizuka altogether. She breathed a sigh of relief, having dodged a bullet. But very soon, she couldn't keep calm again, because Rei-Ao sent her a private message. Rei-Ao, Shizuka, if you really feel that way, just let me know anytime. I can help you release the stress whenever you want, and we can have some fun while we're at it. What kind of crude talk is that? Shizuka's face turned red. She wanted to say right now. Immediately. But for the sake of her dignity as a teacher, she gritted her teeth and replied with a forced denial. Hiratsuka Shizuka, what are you saying, you brat? I'm not that desperate. Don't overthink it. Rei-Ao, oh, really? Then I won't come looking for you. Shizuka stared at him with question marks filling her mind. On Rei-Ao's face was a mischievous, knowing smile, as though he was enjoying the whole spectacle. Chapter 341, Concerns, Envy, and Peace. Main group chat. Misaka Mikoto, Rei-Ao, are you there? After hesitating for a long time, Misaka Mikoto finally sent a message to Rei-Ao. Rei-Ao, yes, what's up? Misaka Mikoto, I've looked into those railgun mass production plan and absolute power evolution, level 6 shift, you mentioned. Stella? Those insane scientific experiments actually exist? Misaka Mikoto, yes, the information I found is exactly the same as what Rei-Ao said. Bujuja Misako, so you're not just informing Rei-Ao about this, are you? Misaka Mikoto. I wanted to ask if it's really impossible to destroy their labs? Clenching her delicate fist, Misaka Mikoto's eyes burned with an anger that was hard to contain. Whenever she remembered that a sister would die in each experiment, fury and guilt threatened to consume her. Rei-ao, it's not that it can't be done. Misaka Mikoto, really? Misaka Mikoto's eyes lit up. Kasuga Hijiri, wait, didn't you say the enemy is terrifying? Wouldn't it be dangerous for Misaka Mikoto to act so rashly? Rei-ao, there'll be danger, but not too much. Iragi Shinoa, why? Didn't you say the other side was very powerful? Rei-ao, because Misaka Mikoto herself is extremely important to that world. She won't just die so easily. Frieren, one person is that important to a world? That's a strange way of putting it. Sakurajima, are we talking about some kind of main character plot armor? Rei-ao, something like that, yes. Rei-ao, but the key is that the world in question has a unique rule, each individual has their own place. None too many, none too few. Rei-ao, beyond that, in the eyes of certain people, Misaka Mikoto has other significance. Yukino Shita Yukino, simply put, she still has value they can use. Suai, Yukino sounds so calm, but she's giving me chills. Yamagawa it's like the feeling of being watched by someone the whole time. Rei-ao, what Yukino and Iom said is correct. Mikoto's actions are indeed under the watchful eye of that board chairman, A-lister. Misaka Mikoto? Are you saying that my investigation has already been discovered? Rei-ao, that's right. Misaka Mikoto, then why haven't I seen any special measures taken against me? Rei-ao, probably because he doesn't need to act against you yet. He's just observing. Misaka Mikoto. Yatsuya Miko, wow, being under the constant shadow of conspiracy like this is terrifying. Aizawa Shizu, it's suffocating. Bibi Dong, I've heard a bit about the situation before. Since you know what's happening, Rei-ao, just go ahead and do what needs to be done. Rei-ao, yes, go for it. If something unexpected pops up, come find me. Rei-ao, even if I can't do anything about a magic god or such, I can at least take you to another world to hide. Misaka Mikoto, got it. Receiving that answer caused the fire in Misaka Mikoto's eyes to blaze even more intensely. Tonight, she would destroy the first lab whose location she had uncovered. Shiba Miyuki, it feels really reassuring to have Rei-ao around. Rei-ao, oh? Miyuki, have you recovered yet? At the mention of her condition, Shiba Miyuki, who was on leave from the student council, instantly blushed. If not for Rei-ao, her body would never have felt so strange. Quietly griping to herself, she still replied. Shiba Miyuki, yes, I'm already fine. Rei-ao, how are things with the Yotsuba family? Shiba Miyuki, Aunt and Mom are in control now. There've been some changes, but everything's stable. Aside from Mom and Aunt occasionally trying to marry her off. Feeling embarrassed, she fled back to the academy. In the student council room at that moment, Sagyusa Mayumi eyed Shiba Miyuki keenly. She had heard from her own family about the upheaval in the Yotsuba clan. The higher-ups of the Yotsuba had gone through a massive shakeup. Shiba Miyuki's mother, once feared and said to be nearing death, the so-called ruler of the River of Oblivion, had made a dominant return. Together with her younger sister, the current head of the Yotsuba family, Yotsuba Maya, she had carried out sweeping reforms within the family. Now, the Yotsuba were firmly under their control. Shiba Miyuki had become the genuine daughter of the clan. Even Shiba Tatsuya's expulsion from school had perfectly confirmed that fact. It was clear that Miyuki's mother and aunt were shielding her. Mayumi felt envious of relatives like that, envious that Miyuki was no longer being exploited by her clan and could choose her own future. Having finished her leave of absence, Mayumi smiled meaningfully. Well then, welcome back, Shiba Miyuki. And congratulations. Shiba Miyuki understood why she was being congratulated, and she fell briefly silent when she saw the envy in Mayumi's eyes. Because she knew that everything had been brought about by Rei-ao. Be it her mother's return from the brink of death or the way her newly strengthened mother had dealt with those old-timers in the Yotsuba who'd sought to use her. Thank you. Shiba Miyuki smiled brilliantly. She wasn't just thanking Mayumi, she was thanking Rei-ao as well. On the rubble of a certain building, Inorai watched the group's peaceful chat, a faint smile on her face. She loved the open exchanges without plotting or scheming. Even if she didn't speak and just watched, she felt at ease. Before long, she closed the chat. Her smile faded. Peeking out, she gazed through an empty window toward a building not far away. That was her target, a GHQ base. She needed to slip in there and acquire something called the Void Genome. It wouldn't be easy. Even from a distance, she could see rows of heavily armed soldiers. Rushing in blindly would only mean certain death. She was waiting for news from Tsugmi and the others. Only through careful coordination would she stand a chance of infiltrating successfully. Chapter 342, Lonely. Rei-ao, as the group leader, and also as the master of some members, a man, naturally had to check in on the group's status. For example, The group in the Akamgakil world. Rao, Najenda, is there any trouble in the Empire? Najenda, at the moment, no problems. The internal purge of the Empire is basically done, and we're in a stable development phase. Najenda, as for the borders and other races, they've already been cleared or subdued by Asdeath. Rao, well done. Leon, you're praising us, so is there a reward? Rao, what reward do you want? Leon, you know, that. Rao, I don't know. Rao, if you don't say it, then there's no reward. Leon, fine, I want to get plowed. How about that? Mine? She'll, this. Chelsea, Mine lunged forward, seized Leon by the collar, and shook her vigorously, blushing and scolding in a loud voice. What on earth are you talking about? Leon had felt embarrassed at first too. But now she just threw caution to the wind. She spread her hands and said, no choice, I want it. She let her gaze sweep over the others. Don't tell me you all don't want it, you're just too embarrassed to say so. You won't speak up, so I will. And when Rao shows up, Humphrey, you guys won't be able to enjoy the benefits that I get. Chelsea and the others, shy, looked away, not daring to meet Leon's gaze. Even mine didn't know how to refute her at that moment. Asdeath, Rao, when are you coming over here to abuse me? Once Asdeath spoke up, the others weren't embarrassed anymore. She's definitely the heavyweight in this regard. Rao, I'll come over in a while. Kuram, my sister will be waiting for you. Rao, Akam? Why me? Kuram, because you mention Rao's name every single day. Rao smiled wryly. There really was a group of beautiful women here waiting to be cleansed. After that, he checked on the other worlds as well. Things were still peaceful in every world for the time being. He was more than happy to have some leisure time. But of course, some people wanted to give him more to do. You got any plans for lunchtime today? Yumiko asked her good friend. I do. Yua nodded. Today, Yukino and I have a request. We're supposed to teach someone tennis. Oh? Yumiko's eyes brightened. So you don't need me then? Yua smiled cheerfully and said. I'm basically just helping pick up the balls. Do you want to come? I see. Yumiko's gaze flickered. On the surface, she continued chatting with Yua, exchanging a few words, but internally she was sending Rao a private message in the chat group. Miro Yumiko, Rao, do you have anything going on at noon? Rao, what if I say yes? Miro Yumiko, you're not allowed to have plans. Miro Yumiko, I don't care, come to the service club at noon. If you don't, I'll bite you. Rao, that kind of bite? Miro Yumiko. Yumiko, what's up with you? Your expression doesn't look great, you asked curiously. Yumiko had been out of it, her face constantly changing. Haha, it's nothing. Yumiko glossed it over. I'm just a bit tired. I'll skip this one, you all go without me. Alright. Yua felt it was a pity. Noon arrived. Rao headed to the service club. Huh? Why are you the only one here? He was a bit surprised to find that Yukino, who was usually hanging around the club for a bit of peace and quiet, wasn't present, and only Yumiko was there. Arms folded, Yumiko gave him a resentful look and stepped behind him to close and lock the door. What? You really wanted to see you or Yukino Shiga instead? Observing Yumiko's actions, Rao more or less understood. He simply said, no, having some time alone with you is nice. With that, he stepped forward and hugged Yumiko from behind, just as she finished locking the door. Her cheeks flushed, and she made a token struggle. Hey, what are you doing? Touching me the moment you see me. Hey. Rao didn't let go, giving a light chuckle. Isn't that exactly what you wanted, Yumiko? Don't tell me you called me here alone to just talk? As he spoke, he began exploring her body. Pressed against the door, Yumiko panted warm breaths. It's your fault. If I didn't reach out to you, you wouldn't even came to find me, making me worry that my body isn't attractive to you anymore. She sounded resentful. Even I get lonely. Rao felt this loneliness both psychologically and physically. He said seriously. I'm sorry. Lately, I've been busy with a bunch of things and haven't been able to look after everyone. Not just Yumiko. Hiratsuka Shizuka, Leon, and the others too. That's why Rao decided to move up plans for a large party, so he wouldn't have to make the rounds one by one, constantly keeping each individual company. He could handle everything in one big event. Plans aside, Yumiko in front of him was more important for now. With her intense cooperation, and even enthusiasm, things swiftly reached the critical moment. It took just one thrust. But Rao still asked a question out of courtesy. Yumiko, are you sure it's okay to do this in the service club? Huh? Yumiko, in a daze, let out a confused sound. She turned her head, her eyes were dewy, as if brimming with the traces of early spring. It's already came to this point, why mention that now? For Rayao right now, just hurry up and do it, you know. Since she put it that way, Rayao let go of that last bit of restraint. Yukino, my apologies. I'm temporarily commandeering your service club. And since we're already using the club room like this, might as well go all the way. Yumeko, let's move over there. Huh? Yumeko, who had just begun to feel the pleasure of him fully inside her, followed Rayao's gaze. That's the table where Yukino always read and took breaks. Her face changed instantly. You mean on that table? This time, even she hesitated. If Yukino found out, that would be huge trouble. Rayao smiled and reassured her. Don't worry, I'll clean up so there's not a trace left. Then he used devilish words to tempt her. Yumeko, don't you want to try it? Ugh. Alright, but let me go first. No need. Crawl over there. Huh? Chapter 343, Great things are happening inside a club on the tennis court. Chu. In the middle of playing tennis, Yukino suddenly let out an adorably soft sneeze. Just at that moment, she failed to return the ball coming from the other side of the net, and it dropped beside her. Yui ran over to pick it up and asked. Yukino, did you catch a cold? No. Yukino shook her head. Still, she had the odd feeling someone was talking about her behind her back. If you're not feeling well, Yukino-shita-senpai, maybe you should take a break, said the girl on the opposite side of the court as she jogged over. That girl, lively and short-haired with chestnut-colored hair, was Ishiki Iroha, a second-year underclassman who had asked the service club for help this time, saying she wanted to improve her tennis skills. Following the idea of teaching someone to fish rather than giving them a fish, Yukino planned to train her by rallying directly. Yukino knew she wasn't actually sick, but they had been playing for quite a while. Her breathing was a bit uneven, her skin lightly covered in sweat, and her arms felt sore. So she nodded and said, let's rest for a bit. All three of them walked to the edge of the court to wipe away sweat and drink some water. Yui looked left and right, suddenly realizing she couldn't find her phone, her face falling. Yukino, I think I left my phone either in our classroom or maybe the service club. Yukino said. Go look for it, our practice can wait. I'm not in any hurry. Take your time, Ishiki Iroha chimed in with a nod. Alright, you two wait here, I'll be right back. Yui set down her water bottle and jogged away from the tennis court. After Yui left for a while, a bored Ishiki wandered over to Yukino, who was flipping through a book again. Sitting down beside her, she leaned over and asked curiously. Yukino-shita-senpai, do you really like reading? Yukino wasn't used to people approaching her so spontaneously. The last person who chatted so casually with her was Yui. It's alright, she answered politely but only in 2 short words. This clearly conveyed I don't feel like talking. But Ishiki acted as though she didn't notice and brought up a fresh topic. Yukino-shita-senpai, how come you started the service club? And why pick such a weird name? Yukino really didn't feel like talking. However, because it involved the service club, and there was a chance of misunderstanding, she had to explain. With a pop, she snapped her book shut. Adopting a serious tone, she said. Please don't make assumptions about the meaning of the service club. Ishiki looked surprised as Yukino carefully explained the service club's principles and her own ideals. When she finished, Ishiki stood there speechless. After a brief pause, Ishiki got up and bowed deeply. I'm sorry, Yukino-shita-senpai. I jumped to conclusions about the service club. In her mind, though, she labeled Yukino as both extremely capable and somewhat odd. Yukino replied. She hadn't expected Ishiki to apologize, and now that it was out in the open, there wasn't much else to say. She planned to move on and return to her reading. But right after apologizing, Ishiki put on another expression and started talking to herself. Hee, Yukino-shita-senpai, do you know why I want to learn tennis? Her mischievous grin was completely different from the serious face she had just before. Yukino felt a bit uncomfortable. People who wore different masks and showed different faces reminded her of her older sister. She wasn't good at dealing with her sister, and by instinct she disliked people who used multiple facades. Although Ishiki wasn't as over-the-top as her sister, Yukino still felt uneasy. Yukino didn't respond, but Ishiki didn't seem the least bit embarrassed. Instead, she scratched her head shyly and said, actually, it's because there's someone I like. This kind of personal topic didn't interest Yukino at all. Yet, upon hearing Ishiki's next sentence, Yukino lost her composure. Yukino-shita-senpai, do you know Rayao-senpai? Rayao. It was a name Yukino both wanted and didn't want to hear. You don't like him? Ishiki nodded vigorously, delighted that Yukino was finally talking to her. I'm secretly in love with Rao-senpai. I'm working on my tennis just for him. Yukino was left speechless. That perfectly summed up her feelings. She never imagined that this request she'd put so much effort into would end up having something to do with Rao. And so, as though someone had flipped a switch, Ishiki started talking non-stop about how she fell for Rao and the reason behind her tennis training. Initially uninterested, Yukino found herself listening earnestly because of Rao. Two women who didn't have much in common suddenly found themselves connected through Rao. Fate can be strange sometimes. Not here? Searching the desk in her classroom, Yui couldn't find her phone. Thinking carefully, she said, "Maybe I left it in the service club room?" She then left the classroom and trotted off toward the service club. Service club. There was quite a commotion on Yukino's desk. Suddenly, Rao paused and clapped his hand over Yumiko's mouth. MPH. Unable to speak, Yumiko furrowed her brow, confused. SHH. Rao made a quieting gesture, then scooped her up and headed to the door, pointing at it. "Listen. That's you outside." Yumiko's body went rigid. She widened her eyes, listening carefully to the sounds outside. Huh? Why won't the service club door open? Yui, who had arrived at the service club, tried the door but found it locked. Looking puzzled, she said, "Is it stuck? Or locked from inside?" She gave a light knock, calling out softly, "Is anyone in there?" Silence. Behind the door, Yumiko's nerves were on edge. "It really is Yui. Didn't she say she wasn't coming to the service club? Put me down. Quick." She wanted Rao to let her down, but he wouldn't. Instead, he offered her even deeper affection. A jolt of pleasure shot through Yumiko, nearly pushing her over the edge. Fortunately, she clamped a hand over her mouth. Her watery eyes seemed to ask, "What are you doing?" Rao's eyes narrowed in a smile. "Yumiko, what's there to be afraid of? You already knows about us, doesn't she?" "Huh?" Yumiko froze. "Right. In the chat group, aside from never showing it on video, none of this was really a secret. So, why am I scared of being found out?" In that instant, a bold idea came to her. After a brief pause, she spoke up. Loudly enough to be heard, "Rao-kun, why'd you stop? Keep going." Chapter 344, Great Things Are Happening and You Found Out About It. "Rao-kun, why are you stopping? Keep going." "Huh?" Outside the service club room, Yui froze. "Yumiko?" It sounded like Yumiko's voice. She looked around the hallway. It was completely empty. No one's around. Am I hearing things? Puzzled, Yui touched her ear. "Rao-kun, I like you. Do you like me? Can't you tell how deep my feelings are? Do you want it even deeper?" Yui's eyes went wide. This time, she was sure she hadn't misheard. It was definitely Yumiko's voice. And Rao's too. All coming from inside the service club. So that's why the door was locked. But what are they saying in there? And didn't Yumiko say she wasn't feeling well? Instead of knocking, Yui pressed her ear to the door and listened. Moments later, she slowly stepped away from the door, dazed, stumbling backward. Her face bright red, her eyes brimming with embarrassment. She clamped a hand over her mouth to keep from making a sound. Yui's mind went blank. Even though she'd known about the relationship between Rao and Yumiko for some time, she'd never imagined she'd stumble upon them like this. And in the service club room, of all places. Yui glanced up at the service club sign on the door, which suddenly felt glaringly bright. Originally, the so-called service club wasn't really a service club. Now it had turned into an actual service club. "Rao-kun." Yumiko's voice grew even louder. A shiver, as if ants were crawling all over her body, left Yui weak in the knees. She pressed her lips tight, her gaze turbulent. One was the boy she liked, the other was her best friend. She could knock on the door and stop them, she could open it and confront them. But Yui chose to run away. Her head was a mess. At this point, she had no idea how to deal with any of this. Inside the service club, Rao-kun. Yumiko clung tightly to Rao's neck, calling out his name by instinct every time she was jostled. Her voice grew softer yet somehow louder each time. Rao chuckled. "All right, enough pretending. You've already scared you away." "Huh?" Yumiko's eyes went blank, as though confused. The bursts of intense stimulation had made her forget about you altogether. Hearing Rao mention her brought Yumiko back from that daze. He noticed her confusion. "You didn't?" Rao asked with a strange expression. Seeing right through her, Yumiko's face turned completely red. Like she'd been unmasked. At this point, she gave up trying to hide it. "That's right. It felt so good just now, I didn't care if you heard or not." Rao raised an eyebrow, leaning in. "So you weren't enjoying yourself before?" Another rush of pleasure almost made Yumiko's eyes roll back, but she managed to hold on. Worried he might misunderstand, she hurried to explain. No, that's not it. It felt amazing before too, it's just. Flustered and shy, she couldn't meet Rao's gaze. Finally biting her lip, she admitted. Before, I was holding back on purpose because it was just too embarrassing. So you're saying now, Yumiko, you're not embarrassed anymore? The corners of Rao's mouth curved into a faint smile, and his eyes lit up with heat. Yumiko, I love seeing you completely let go. When you do, it fires me up even more. That heated gaze made Yumiko's heart thump like a startled fawn. But people might come down the hallway. Don't worry. Even if you scream until the sky falls, nobody outside will hear a thing. True to his word, he acted. Sound is transmitted by the vibration of molecules in the air. If the air were turned into a vacuum, there would be no molecules to vibrate, and no sound could travel. Even in a non-vacuum environment, getting the molecules not to vibrate at all seems impossible from a typical scientific perspective. But for Rao, it was child's play. He froze the movement of the molecules, creating a layer of perfectly still air between the service club room and the outside. Yumiko had no idea what he had done. She only heard him say, "All right, Yumiko. Now show me the side of you that's completely unleashed. Just like you've spread your legs wide?" Before she could react, Rao began again with relentless force. I don't care anymore." A jolt of electricity shot through her mind. Yumiko no longer cared what Rao had done, all she wanted was to let go and face her own desires head-on. At the tennis court, so that's basically everything. Ishiki Iroha finally finished describing her secret crush on Rao. Yukino understood. Ishiki had been captivated by the sight of Rao's flair and intensity during class. She also admired his top ranking in school, plus the looks and physique that so many girls liked. But Ishiki herself didn't actually know Rao, they'd never even spoken a word to each other. It was textbook love-struck underclassmen behavior, similar to other students who were obsessed with the school's idols. Of course, that was only Yukino's impression from what Ishiki said. She didn't know if Ishiki was hiding anything else. Yukino felt at a loss. All she could think was that Rao was a truly sinful man. She also didn't want to get involved. She'd just treat it as overhearing a piece of gossip. But reality rarely cooperates. Ishiki suddenly asked offhand. "Oh yeah, Yukino Shita-senpai, you're a third year too. Do you know Rao-senpai?" Caught off guard, Yukino hesitated under Ishiki's eager gaze. She knew well that Rao was someone with many romantic entanglements. For one reason or another, she really didn't want Ishiki getting involved with him. Normally, she could have just shaken her head and said not really, and that would settle it. But given her insistence on always being correct, Yukino couldn't lie to such a straightforward question. She nodded. Ishiki looked like she'd discovered a whole new continent. "So you and Rao-senpai are friends, Yukino Shita-senpai?" "Friends you see often?" "Yes." "Do you two live nearby?" "Yes." "So then." "Stop." Ishiki tried to keep going, but Yukino hurriedly cut her off, sweating nervously. If she didn't stop her, she'd soon be giving everything away. As expected, she wasn't good at dealing with people whose personalities resembled her sister's. Chapter 345, Change Request. Side quest of Yukino. Ishiki Iroha also knew it wasn't polite to keep probing into someone else's private affairs. So once Yukino stopped her, she didn't push any further. Even so, a happy new idea was already forming in her mind. Originally, she just wanted to improve her tennis skills through exercise and use it as a way to get closer to Rao. She also planned to rely on the rumored jack-of-all-trades service club at school to work on her tennis. She never expected an added bonus. The senpai right in front of her turned out to be someone very close to her target. Wait a minute. The eagerness in Ishiki Iroha's eyes suddenly dimmed. She had realized something crucial. Friends? Close friends? Neighbors? Childhood friends? Exactly what was the relationship between those two? If she didn't figure that out, it would bother her endlessly. Ahem. She coughed to hide her unease. Yukino Shita-senpai, you and Rao-senpai. Are you two a couple? Might as well go straight for the biggest question. Ishiki asked the most explosive one of all. Not at all. Yukino's response was firm and immediate. Oh. Getting that answer relieved the worry in Ishiki's heart. While she wanted to pursue Rao, it wasn't what Yukino would call true love. More than anything, it was due to his popularity among the girls. Of course, the main reason was that Rao excelled in so many ways. He was definitely someone worthy of admiration, if not outright love. Add to that the blind fervor a teenage girl might feel in her adolescence, and suddenly she had this impassioned idea to chase after him. Even then, She wasn't shameless enough to try stealing another person's boyfriend or be the third party. So when Yukino said they weren't dating, Ishiki finally breathed a sigh of relief. But the moment Yukino spoke those words, she regretted them. She spotted the hopeful gleam in Ishiki's eyes, realizing that this could get complicated. Yukino couldn't help wondering if refusing to answer or remaining silent might have spared her from some future trouble. Just then, Yua came back, shoulders drooping. Yukino hurried toward her as if she'd been rescued. But Yua, as though she couldn't see Yukino at all, walked by with a blank expression. Yukino immediately sensed something was off. Yua, you couldn't find your phone? Huh? Yua jolted out of her muddled thoughts. She forced a goofy smile. Haha, nope, couldn't find it. But I've got a feeling it'll pop up on its own tomorrow? That was such a strange way to put it. Ishiki, on the other hand, nodded in understanding. Exactly. Life's like that, the more you look for something, the harder it is to find. Stop looking, and it shows up on its own. Right. Ha ha. Yu's awkward laugh sounded strained. Yukino could clearly see something unsettling in her eyes, but Yua spoke up before she could say more. I'm all rested now. Let's keep going. Sure. Seeing Ishiki eager to continue as well, Yukino had no choice but to hold back any comforting words. They resumed their practice rally, and Yua kept collecting balls. Her distraction, however, was hard to ignore. Her thoughts were a confused mess, filled with images conjured by the noises she'd overheard. Yumeko and Rei turning the service club into a place of true service. At the same time, she had one strange question lingering in her mind that wouldn't go away. Was that really fun? She didn't know how to face it, but that was what she'd gathered from Yumeko's tone. Yua couldn't find the words to describe her own feelings. Time passed. Lunch break was nearly over. That's enough practice. Drenched in sweat, Yukino stopped serving. Finally done. Ishiki Iroha was on the verge of tears. Tired, sore, weak. Those were her entire physical sensations. She wanted nothing more than to lie on the ground and not move, and only a last shred of self-restraint kept her from doing so. Gasping for air, she moved off to the side to rest against the fence. Yukino didn't feel much better, but she could more or less manage such intense exercise. Glancing at Ishiki, who was still breathing heavily, she said in an almost casual tone. If this is too much, you can always cancel the request. She wasn't trying to provoke Ishiki, she was genuinely advising her. Yukino just didn't want her caught in the vortex of Rei-o and his other women. It was a deep and complicated situation, and even Yukino herself wasn't sure if she could handle it. There was a fundamental gap between them. Supernatural factors aside. Unless some unforeseeable event violently tore that barrier open, such as a deal one couldn't refuse. However, Yukino had decided that even in the face of death, she wouldn't make that deal. She had no clue that she was like an old general on stage, banner after banner already stuck behind her back. Unexpectedly, her warning appeared to have an effect on Ishiki, who wore a contemplative look. After a moment, her eyes lit up as though she'd just realized something, and she flashed a mischievous grin. I guess I'm really not cut out for tennis after all. Yukino nodded inwardly, believing she was about to give up. But then Ishiki abruptly switched gears, so I've decided to change my request. Huh? Yukino frowned. Change your request. Right. The service club should allow revisions to incomplete requests, correct? Ishiki blinked her large, clear eyes at Yukino with an overly cute expression. Senpai, she spoke with such a sugary sweet voice that even Yukino struggled not to recoil. Eventually, Yukino said with difficulty. If it's within reason. Yes. Hee, I knew you were the best, Yukino senpai. Her cutesy face vanished in an instant, replaced by a look of sly satisfaction. Exactly the kind of face changing that Yukino detested. Putting one finger to the corner of her mouth, Ishiki mulled over what within reason might mean in Yukino's eyes. Then she announced, I've made up my mind, Yukino-senpai. Please have the service club help me find a way to meet with Rei-o-kun. And confess to him. Rei-o-kun? Yukino hadn't spoken yet, but Yui reacted first. She snapped out of her dazed state at that trigger word and spun to face Ishiki. What did you just say? Chapter 346, Yada. Kanakami. Did you just mention Rei-o-kun? Uegahama Yui rushed forward in a single step, stopping in front of Ishiki Iroha. Hey! Her abrupt reaction frightened Ishiki quite a bit. Yukino was also startled, but quickly came to her senses and reached out to pull Yui back a few steps. Worried, she asked. Yui, you've been distracted and spacing out for a while now. Is something wrong? She had been observing carefully. Ever since Yui came back from looking for her phone, her energy had vanished. Even while picking up tennis balls, she would space out from time to time, not taking any action unless prompted. Add to that her sudden outburst of emotion just now, and all these signs pointed to something being off with her. You ignored Yukino and, lips pressed tight in a grim line, focused her gaze on Nishiki Iro again. I didn't catch what you said just now. Could you repeat it? Oh, okay. Even Nishiki Iro, nicknamed Go-Go-Go, with a bit of a little devil personality, cautiously shrank back under Yua's obviously unusual vibe. She repeated, I want to pursue Rayao-senpai, so I was hoping the service club could help me create an opportunity for contact and a chance to confess. Essentially, she was asking them to set her up. But that wasn't what Yua fixated on. You want to confess to Rayao-kun? She couldn't understand how everything had changed after she left and came back. Whether it was Yumiko, or this first year suddenly announcing she wanted to confess to Rayao for who knows what reason. Ishiki nodded, affecting a look of deep sentiment. Yes. I admire Rayao-senpai a lot and want him to know how I feel. Yua stood there in a daze, a new image forming in her mind, Rayao, with Yumiko on one side and Ishiki on the other, cuddling up to both of them. While Shidot was outside the door. Rayao gave her a faint smile and said, Sorry, Yua, you picked the worst time to show up. Boom. That imagined line struck her heart with brute force. Her fists clenched reflexively. Something like that. That sort of thing was impossible. Yada. Blurting out a statement that puzzled the other two, Yua turned and ran off. This. Ishiki Iro looked to Yukino in confusion, hoping she could explain what on earth had just happened. Yukino gazed intently at Yua's retreating figure. In the end, she didn't explain. She only offered, Your request is reasonable. The service club will accept it. We'll discuss the details later. With that, she picked up her racket and water bottle and left the tennis court as well. They're both so strange, Ishiki murmured. But as long as they were willing to help, they were good senpai in her book. Dragon World just a bit more, and the barrier between the two worlds will be fully reinforced. Lukoa felt some anticipation for the vacation she'd get after completing the barrier reinforcement. She planned to head over to the human world for a visit. She was quite curious about this human named Rayao. Huh? Suddenly, she glanced in one direction. She sensed that, at a spot in the barrier she hadn't reinforced yet, a life form had slipped through. In the distance. You have been banished. A white dragon, exiled by her tribe, was flying sorrowfully. Her name was Kanakami. She'd been banished for playing pranks, and she had no idea where to go now. Taru. Kana murmured the name of her friend. She'd come here, following Taru's scent, trying to find her. Taru's scent had disappeared somewhere around this area. But Kana hadn't actually seen Taru anywhere. She circled around in the sky, flapping her dragon wings, when she suddenly collided with a weak spot in the void. In one headlong crash, she tumbled right through. Before long, Lukoa arrived at that same spot. Oh, it's her. She was quite familiar with Kana. And she could still catch Taru's scent there. It looked like Taru had also passed through here into the human world. Sunlight flickered. Lukoa did not bring Kana back. She merely reinforced that spot in the barrier before departing. Inside a corridor with mechanical structures, a pink-haired girl was running. Her loosely tied twin tails swung back and forth at her shoulders. Her expressionless face gave no clue to her emotions. Beep, beep, beep. Warning. Warning. An intruder has appeared in Sector B. Flashing red lights filled the corridor as a robotic announcement blared repeatedly. The intruder was none other than her. Inurai. According to calculations and the layout provided by Tsugumi and the others, she had hacked the surveillance in the weakest area, slipped perfectly past the patrol in that section, and successfully infiltrated this GHQ base. Using the detailed map, she took the quickest route to her target. With inside-outside coordination, Inurai finally acquired her mission objective, the Void Genome. She was clutching a transparent container with a violet, DNA-like spiral inside, swirling about. The Void Genome was a genetic code discovered by analyzing the Apocalypse virus. Those who received it would develop the King's Mark on their bodies. Only 3 samples of this peak genetic technology existed in total. Inurai had taken one of them. Exactly what Gay had been hoping to obtain. The gene-based drug created from the Void Genome could grant a person the power of kings. The ability to read and manifest the genetic information of another's body as a void. The theft of such a crucial item naturally triggered an alarm. There's the intruder. Catch her, dead or alive. Recover that top priority object she stole. GHQ soldiers quickly closed in on her, aiming their black gun barrels straight at Inurai. Open fire. Rat-a-tat-tat. Gunfire whizzed past user Ia Inurai, but her agile body allowed her to dodge the bullets. To the average onlooker, she seemed almost superhuman. Inurai tossed a smoke grenade to obscure their line of sight, then slipped away via the escape route she had planned from the start, fleeing the GHQ base, but GHQ clearly had no intention of letting her get away, sending more troops to chase her down. Even after leaving the GHQ base by about 2.7 kilometers, she couldn't shake them off. Inori wasn't actually superhuman, and there were limits to the human body. Especially under such dense gunfire. Ugh! She let out a pained gasp as a stray bullet struck her left shoulder. NMGH. The sudden pain nearly made Inori stumble. She glanced ahead, a cliff, with the ocean below. Splash! Without hesitation, Inori jumped into the water. The soldiers rushed to the edge of the cliff and looked down. All they could see was a bit of blood dispersing in the waves. No sign of Inori at all. Damn it! Deploy the underwater search team immediately. The squad leader shouted in anger. Soon, several armored troops dived into the water to look for any trace of her. Chapter 347, Tenshai? After school Yue. Out of habit, Yumiko called out to Yue just like she always did when class was over. Even though her legs wobbled with exhaustion the moment she arrived. Thanks to Rao. Something about liberating yourself. In the end, she overdid it and ended up thoroughly worn out. But right after she said Yue's name, she regretted it. What had just happened was beyond embarrassing, and given Yue's personality, she was certain Yue would avoid her. Unexpectedly, however, Yue didn't dodge her. Instead, she actually came right over, linking arms with Yumiko the same way she always did, as though nothing had happened. Yumiko, let's head home together. Yumiko felt uneasy. Was Yue pretending it never happened? Yue wasn't bringing it up, Yumiko wasn't bringing it up. The two of them started on their way home together under a strangely tense atmosphere. But when they reached the point where they usually went their separate ways, Yue suddenly stopped. The smile on her face vanished. Yumiko's heart lurched. She had a feeling a storm was coming. Yumiko, I heard everything back in the service club. That one line from Yue went straight to the point. Yumiko could even feel Yue trembling slightly. But now that it was out in the open, what did Yue want her to say? All Yumiko could manage was, "Oh. Hey, Yumiko, can you tell me what it feels like? You know to feel that good? Hey." Yumiko's face immediately went bright red. That feeling. She only knew she'd lost her senses, eyes rolling back and tongue lolling, but how on earth was she supposed to explain it in words? Why Yue, are you okay? Yue's behavior was scaring Yumiko. Any fleeting satisfaction Yumiko had felt earlier was gone now. Haha, I'm fine, Yumiko. Once again, the face that appeared to be drowning in turmoil formed a smile. But it disappeared again in the next second. They locked eyes, Yue staring sharply at Yumiko. Yumiko refused to blink, staring right back. Then Yue finally spoke again, wearing a dead serious expression, the first time Yumiko had ever seen her like this. Yumiko, I'm not going to give up. Huh? It came out of nowhere, and Yumiko was bewildered. Yue didn't seem interested in explaining further. She just turned and headed off down a different street. Yumiko watched Yue's retreating figure. She sensed something was really wrong. It gave her a heavy, foreboding feeling. At Rao's home the moment school ended, the four Lalas flocked to his house. For Amelia's sake. They all fixed their gazes on Amelia. Under their fourfold scrutiny, Amelia felt ill at ease. She glanced over at Rao, her eyes asking him silently, "What's going on here?" Arms folded, Rao watched calmly from the side. "It really is an angelic aura," said Vignette, certain that this presence, so different from a demon's, had to be that of an angel. Raphael sighed in admiration. "I knew I wasn't mistaken." "What do you mean, angel?" Amelia, who had become the subject of their curious remarks, looked thoroughly confused. That's when Rao spoke. "These four are from heaven and the demon realm. Gabriel and Raphael are angels from heaven. Vignette and Satania are demons from the demon realm." Demons? It was like the word flipped a switch in Amelia's mind. Her ouch bounced wildly. Clang. As an angel whose role was to slay demons, she instinctively drew her holy sword. Its gleaming tip pointed directly at Vignette. Huh? Vignette froze. "What's going on?" Sigh. Rao shook his head in exasperation. "Amelia, calm down. Vignette and the others aren't demons from your world." Right. Only then did Amelia realize how impossible it was for these cute girls to be the demons from her world. She hurriedly sheathed her sword. Sorry, it's all right." Vignette took Amelia's hand gently. "Amelia, I'm guessing you went through a lot in that other world, so it's understandable. It's not your fault." Amelia stared at Vignette's sweet, gentle smile. A single word came to her mind, Tenshai? Ding dong. The doorbell rang. That must be Fumino and the others. "You can go chat in the other room." Toru went to answer the door. "Sorry for the intrusion." Gerasimifo and the other two, already used to visiting Rao's place, came in. Ilya resumed tutoring them as usual, while Mufa had nothing to do and sat on the couch, checking her phone. Suddenly, she tensed up because Rao sat down next to her. "What are you doing?" Her heart began pounding faster. She'd never forgotten how she helped Rao that day with her hand, leaving her unbearably awkward around him. "Mufa-sensei, are you really that afraid of me?" "Afraid? Of you? Don't be ridiculous." Mufa tried to act dismissive. "You're just a kid, so why should I be scared?" She felt that she had to exert her teacherly dignity at this moment. "A kid?" Rao's expression turned slightly strange. In a hushed tone only Mufa could hear, he asked. "So, Garasimova thinks I''am small?" Mufa's cheeks instantly turned red. She didn't have any direct point of comparison, but reading certain books had taught her about Rao's, well, scale. "No, wait. Why am I even thinking about this?" She snapped out of it. Eyes flashing with anger, she lowered her voice and hissed through gritted teeth. "Rao. Don't say such indecent things to your teacher." "Huh?" Rao gave a puzzled grunt. "Sensei, I'm already 18. An adult." Mufa froze. He was talking about his age? Realizing she had completely misunderstood, Mufa burned with embarrassment, instinctively ducking her head. Ugh! Making such a fool of herself in front of a student. She felt like she had lost all face, like she could just die. "Hey!" Covering her face in shame, Mufa failed to notice the mischievous look in Rao's eyes. Teasing her was a lot of fun. The way her usual sternness morphed into bashfulness, and the thrill of peeling back that shy side of Garasimova. He found it impossible to resist. Still, he had to change the subject. Letting the awkwardness linger would do no one any good. So, he steered the conversation toward Fumino Furuashi and Rizu Ogata. "By the way, Mufa-sensei, how's Furuashi-san's and Ogata-san's studying going? Has it been effective?" She pounced on the new topic as if it were a lifeline to pull her out of her swirling thoughts. "Very effective," she said. Even she was shocked by how much Fumino and Rizu had improved in both the sciences and humanities. It was all thanks to Ilya, though Mufa couldn't figure out how that tiny girl managed it. "I see." With their conversation back on track, the two of them managed some semblance of normal small talk. Chapter 348, Yua's Trade. "She's in trouble?" "Uegahama residence. Yua, where are you off to?" Uegahama's mother asked, puzzled. They had just finished dinner when Yua slung a bag over her shoulder, ready to head out. Yua replied with a bright smile. "Mom, I'm going over to Yumiko's place today. I might stay the night, so I'll call you and let you know." "Oh, Yumiko, huh?" Uegahama's mother had met her before, a girl who seemed like she had the disposition of a proper young lady but actually cared a lot about Yua. From what she'd seen, she felt comfortable with Yumiko. "Sure, go ahead, just remember to keep me updated." "Okay." Yua left. Uegahama's mother watched the door close, murmuring to herself. Her daughter had reached the age where she was starting to move on with her own life. I wonder who Yui will end up with someday. She couldn't help thinking that, recalling a certain figure, that gentle yet assertive boy who had kissed her. Rao. She still couldn't shake the feeling of that moment from her lips. Even recalling it made her flush and her heart pound. Ugh! If the boy Yui likes turns out to be him. Her thoughts swirled in chaos. She genuinely wouldn't know how to handle the relationship between herself as the mother-in-law and her son-in-law if it came to that. It would be so complicated. Yumiko's house. In the shower, Yumiko let the water flow over her soft skin, her gaze unfocused. She kept replaying the moment she and Yui parted ways earlier. Yui had seemed to muster all her courage, proclaiming with determination that she would never give up. Yumiko couldn't calm down. That statement was Yui's direct reaction after overhearing everything that happened between Yumiko and Rao firsthand. Yui. She's not going to do anything reckless, is she? Finished rinsing off, Yumiko reached out to shut off the water. But her hand froze in midair. A trade notification had popped up in their chat group. Ding. A new trade has begun. Trade partner, Uegahama Yui. Trade content, save her. Trade condition, right to use her body once. Duration, unlimited? What in the world? Sensing that something was wrong, Yumiko rushed to the group to ask. Miro Yumiko, Rao, Uegahama Yui. What's going on? Is Yu in danger? Uegahama Yui. Yes, but thankfully Rao-kun was here. Rao. Gazing at the perfectly uninjured Yui standing before him, Rao suddenly had no idea how to cover for her lie. Yes, it was a complete lie. 1 minute earlier, Rao had been having an engaging conversation with Garasimova when suddenly he received Yui's trade request. Ding. Uegahama Yui has initiated a trade request. Trade content, save her. Ding. Please select trade conditions. He thought Yui was in some sort of danger. After asking in the group chat and getting no reply, he chose the trade condition, and the trade was instantly confirmed. Assuming Yui was in urgent trouble, Rao excused himself and stepped out. The moment he left his house, he was teleported via the trade to Yui's location. But there were no monsters, no demons, no thugs. Nothing dangerous. There was only a room drenched in a suggestive mood. A hotel room. Yui's clothes were intact, no signs of coercion. Combined with Yumiko's question and Yui's earlier response, Rao knew at once that Yui's trade had been a sham. After responding to Yumiko, Yui closed the group chat. She looked up at him, eyes filled with nervousness, tears almost welling up. She whispered. "I'm sorry, Rao-kun. I lied. I tricked you. I know. Do you hate me for lying like this?" She lowered her head. Only now did Yui regret what she'd done. "I'm not mad," Rao said, gently stroking her hair. "As long as you're alright. But I am curious about why you specifically brought me here in this way." He glanced around. "The decor here looks like a hotel. It's so late, yet instead of being at home, you're at a hotel. What are you doing?" "Ugh." Yui's shoulders trembled. "Phew." Rao could hear her breathing grow uneven. And then, to his astonishment, Yui suddenly leapt forward and hugged him tight. She buried her face in his chest, speaking in a small voice, "Rao-kun, I like you, so. Could you treat me the same way you treated Yumiko?" Just saying that took all the courage she'd ever had, much more than when she first confessed. After an afternoon of battling her own thoughts, Yui admitted to herself that she was jealous of Yumiko. And likewise, she didn't want to have any regrets. So this was the step she chose. Whatever it took, she wanted to give herself to the person she loved most. Rao understood everything in an instant. He hadn't expected his impulsive actions to push Yui this far. Silence. They could both hear each other breathe. But Yui, still pressing against him, felt nothing happening, and the excitement in her heart began to cool. I guess it's no good, huh?" She assumed she wasn't as attractive to Rao as Yumiko was. After all, that was Yumiko. But the next second, a strong yet warm hand tipped her chin up. Head tilting back, Yui saw his deep blue eyes move in, followed by the heat of his lips. This was the kiss she'd so badly wanted. The intense warmth exceeded anything she'd imagined, making her cling to Rao and lose herself in it. After a long while, their lips parted. "Ha!" Yui gasped, almost forgetting to breathe. Rao teased her, "You couldn't catch your breath, yet you clung to me and wouldn't let go." "Ugh." Already flushed red, Yui's face burned hotter with frustration. It was true. Under Rao's gentle guidance, she'd awkwardly learned and gotten so caught up she forgot the need to breathe. "Yui, there's no going back now. It might be your first time, but it won't be your last. Because I fully intend to have you in my future." He couldn't help it. His possessive streak ran too deep. There was no possibility of a one-time only deal. Yui said nothing. Instead, she slowly sank to her knees, eyes reddened, gazing up at him. "Rao-kun. I studied a lot of books for this day. This is how serious I am." This time it was Rao's turn to be stunned. He never imagined Yui would come this prepared. It was a bit thrilling. Well then, no need to hold back any longer. With a wave of his hand, he cast a magical barrier around them, then posted a message in the group chat. "Rao, Yui was right. Starting now, I'll be carrying out a rescue operation for her. Yes. Time to let out the flood." Chapter 349, Danger is Everywhere and Kana, the Cute Dragon. "Kawasaki-saki, did you also run into danger?" "Sayuri, looks like it, and it seems pretty urgent, too." "Machida-san no go, if Rao is preparing to rescue her, it must be no small matter." "Kasumijoka Utaha, could it be something even more terrifying than the demons we faced?" "Sakurajima, no idea. All we can do is hope she's safe." "Shin, hang in there, Daddy. Mommy and I are cheering for you." "Kobayashi? Shin-chan, you're starting that again." Kobayashi glared at Shin. "Hee, brother or daddy, doesn't matter. In the end, he'll be daddy anyway." Shin shook her head, utterly unconcerned, as though she was one step away from striking a smug pose that would leave Kobayashi with no recourse. She already gave Kobayashi a big headache as it was. Shin's eyes darted about. "Mommy, we haven't seen Oni-chan in so long. I miss him. When can we go to his house?" Kobayashi wanted to refuse, but a pair of cute, pleading eyes popped up right in front of her. Kobayashi found herself speechless. She'd been caught at her weakest point. How could she possibly say no to such an adorable, pitiful expression? Sigh. In resignation, she said. "All right, in a few days." "Yay." Shin jumped up happily. "Miro Yumiko, seriously, what kind of world is this if even you is in danger now?" Miro Yumiko, everyone, we should all be extra careful. Kato Hiromi, well, I guess we'll be fine. No matter what, we can always ask Rao for help in the end. It's just our families. Kato Hiromi, if mom and dad run into something dangerous, that'd be a real problem. Hee hee, my mom's in the group too. Sakurajima my, so's mine. Sayuri, oh my, Eri is actually thinking of her mom. How sweet. She really has grown up. Sakurajima my. About that thing. Sakurajima my, mom, let's not talk about that now. At this point, we can only look forward. Anyway, come by our place soon. Sakurajima alright. Hiratsuka Shizuka, Humphrey. I'm so jealous you all don't have any worries. Yukino Shita Yukino. Initially, Yukino hadn't been worried at all. But after reading these messages, she froze. She suddenly remembered that she still had her mother and sister. She was willing to take responsibility for her own life, but if her sister or mother encountered the same danger, what then? For the first time, Yukino realized just how serious the issue was. She couldn't help sinking into thought. Goodbye. Hayato Michiru waved to her bandmates as they left. Once they were gone, she finally let out a sigh of relief. The peace and quiet at last. The problem was that in her band, everyone kept bringing up Rao at every turn, always pairing the two of them up and egging her on to confess. Michiru was dying of embarrassment. Of course, she knew she had good feelings toward Rao. But confessing? She was afraid she'd just get rejected, and that'd be super awkward. After all, they were seated one in front of the other in class. Besides, until she was absolutely certain about her feelings, she couldn't just rush in and confess. I wonder what he thinks of me. Strolling home, Michiru was also curious what Rao might be doing. She was debating whether or not to send a message when she spotted something small and white in her field of vision. On closer inspection, it was an adorable little girl, standing by the roadside, plucking leaves from a shrub and putting them in her mouth. Swallowing them, too? What sort of kid goes around eating leaves? She couldn't just ignore that. Hey, sweetie, you can't eat leaves. Michiru hurried over and grabbed the girl's hand. The child turned her head. She's so cute. Michiru was enchanted by the little girl's round cheeks and big blue eyes, nearly unable to resist pinching those chubby cheeks. Thankfully, reason won out over impulse. Seeing no adults around, Michiru asked curiously. What's your name? This little girl was not only alone but dressed in a rather unique way. A white horn on her head and a small, fuzzy white tail behind her. Stare. The child stared at Michiru for a good while, as though assessing whether she was dangerous. Toru was always saying humans can be cunning, after all. The girl didn't answer, and Michiru wondered if she should call the police. Growl. A sudden sound made Michiru focus on the child's stomach. Hungry? She nodded but still didn't speak. Michiru took some bread from her bag and handed it over. Here you go. Taking the bread, the little girl examined it briefly, then opened her mouth to chomp it down, wrapper and all. At the sight, Michiru broke into a cold sweat and hurriedly stopped her. Wait. You can't eat the wrapper, too. Huh? The child watched as Michiru tore open the wrapper. This is how you eat it. Taking the now unwrapped bread once more, the little girl glanced at Michiru, then at the bread. Ah. She swallowed it in a single gulp. Michiru froze. Did kids that small really have such a big mouth? By the time she processed it, gulp. The child had already swallowed the entire piece of bread. You'll choke eating like that. Here, drink some water. Panicking, Michiru quickly took out a water bottle, worried for her. Tasty. It was the first time the little girl had spoken. Kana. Huh? Michiru tilted her head, confused. Blinking her gem-like blue eyes, the little girl repeated. Kana. You? Oh. Michiru finally understood. Her name? I'm Hayato Michiru. Michiru. Good person. Haha, that's dangerous, you know. Bad people love to lure little kids with snacks. Kana. Are you a bad person, Michiru? The girl asked, tilting her head. I'm not, no. Still, she warned her, I'm not, but if there are other bad people, Kana, you need to be careful, okay? Kana's not afraid of bad people. The little girl waved a tiny fist, speaking in a babyish voice. Kana can chase away bad people. Haha, wow, Kana, you're so brave. Michiru felt her heart melting at the sight of her cute display. Chapter 350, No one can escape the cutest. Kana, where are your mom and dad? Michiru crouched down, asking her gently. All Kana did was shake her head. You don't know? So you got separated from them. That was Michiru's interpretation. She took out her phone to call the police, figuring the child's family must be worried. Just as she turned on the phone screen, The fluffy white ball behind Kana suddenly moved. At first, Wichiru thought Kana was just playing around, but then, ZT beep beep beep. Blue electric arcs flickered. Startled, Wichiru flung her phone away. The moment it left her hand, though, it stuck to the fluffy tip of Kana's tail. Wichiru's eyes went wide. She saw arcs of electricity traveling from her phone, up Kana's tail, and into her body. It was horrifyingly quick. Just a blink. Busy. Her phone, which had been at 80% battery, beeped a low battery warning and then shut off completely. Clack. The phone dropped to the ground. Burp. Kana let out a little belch. Wichiru snapped back to her senses. She looked at Kana in fear. Did she just absorb the electricity from my phone? Suddenly, Wichiru thought of all kinds of urban legends. Panicking, she stood up and staggered backward. Kana watched her, confused. She took a step forward, and Wichiru, terrified, took several more steps back, even turning as if to run away. It was clear she saw Kana's behavior as something monstrous or supernatural. Kana had no idea what was going on. This person had been so nice just moments ago, yet now she was scared. Head drooping, Kana's eyes welled with tears as she muttered in a trembling, tearful voice. Did Kana do something wrong again? Just like how her mischief had gotten her expelled from the Dragon Clan. That whispered lament reached Wichiru's ears just as she was about to bolt. Her steps faltered. Was she really going to run off just like that? Could a child who sounded so sad and miserable really be a monster? Her heart softened. She bit her lip, mustered her courage, then turned and walked back to Kana. Picking up her phone, she knelt down again. Kana looked up, teary-eyed. Wichiru's heart just melted at the sight. She asked. Kana, I'm sorry. I was just really startled by what you did. Can you tell me what happened just now? Kana only ate the phone's electricity. Kana replied in a timid, sniffling voice. So Wichiru had guessed right. But seeing Kana's reaction, it didn't seem like some scary urban legend. Wichiru patiently asked. Then why did you have to eat the phone's electricity? Kana rubbed her small tummy and said in a soft voice. Kana is a white dragon. She needs to eat electricity, or else food. A WH. White dragon. Wichiru wondered if she'd heard incorrectly. Then her gaze fell on Kana's horns and tail. Gulp. She swallowed hard as a bold yet frightening idea formed in her mind. After a moment's hesitation, she asked. Kana, your horns and tail. Are they real? They're real. Kana nodded without hesitation, flicking her tail into Michiru's palm and even bending her head forward so she could touch it. Summoning her courage, Michiru reached out. She froze in shock. The feel of the horns, the warmth of the tail. Definitely not fake. In other words, this adorable girl, Kana, might truly be a white dragon that eats electricity? Wichiru. Do you hate Kana, too? Kana's dewy eyes glistened with tears. Wichiru couldn't possibly say anything about hating her. She was far too cute. Flustered, she explained. Kana, I don't hate you at all. I was just scared when you ate electricity. I'm just a regular human, and dragons are just legends in our world, so... Oh. Relieved that Michiru didn't hate her, Kana brightened. She nodded understandingly. Wichiru's right. There aren't any dragon sense in this world. This world? Wichiru picked up on those words, asking cautiously. Kana. You're not from here? Kana came from another world while looking for Tatu but ended up here by accident. No wonder there were no parents around. So, did you find Tatu yet? No. Kana's spirits sank. I can sense Tatu somewhere in this world, but I'm really hungry. I don't have any strength, so I can't find her. Her voice wavered, tears threatening again. Wichiru's heart twisted in sympathy. Without thinking, she blurted out. Then. Why don't you come to my place for now, Kana? Your place? Kana tilted her head, curiosity evident. It was more of an apartment than a house. Wichiru had transferred schools on short notice and lived far from home, so renting a place nearby was just more convenient. This is where I live, Wichiru said once they arrived. Everything in the apartment was new to Kana, who stared at it all in wide-eyed wonder. That's right. Wichiru flipped a switch. Kana looked up. This is lightning magic. Haha. Her over-the-top reaction was so cute that Michiru couldn't help laughing. Kana, that's not magic at all. But it has electricity. Kana pointed at the ceiling light, eyes shining with anticipation. Worried she might do something wild, Michiru led her over to the sofa, explaining that this world had no magic. Only technology. Pointing to a wall outlet, she added. Kana, this supplies electricity. I don't know if it'll be helpful to you, but... Okay, let me see. Kana blinked, glanced back at her tail, and pressed the fluffy tip against the outlet. ZT. The room lights flickered on and off. Witchiru, suddenly recalling the possibility of a power outage, panicked. Kana, don't absorb too much. We'll lose power, and that'll cause problems for everyone. Oh. Kana listened, reducing her intake of electricity. The lights steadied. Witchiru breathed a sigh of relief. Kana, curious, broke into a happy smile. Witchiru, thank you. Seeing how delighted she was, Witchiru wore a gentle, maternal smile. She couldn't help wanting to pet this adorable little dragon. Who would believe such a precious child could actually be a dragon who survives on electricity? And to think another world truly exists. Even now, Witchiru was still reeling from the shock. Chapter 351, Sudden Swapped. Mrs. Uegahama late at night, in the early hours of morning. Everyone has their limits, and Yui was no exception. Drowsiness crept over her, although she still felt a lingering sense of reluctance deep inside. If only there was someone who could help me. Rayao sensed something amiss. He called softly. Yui. There was no answer, only the sound of her steady breathing. Yui had fallen asleep. He gave a faint, wry smile. Yui, you're such a dummy, aren't you? It was obvious she'd been forcing herself for the sake of the current mood, and that led to this outcome. He decided to let her have a proper rest. Unexpectedly, Yui opened her eyes again. There was a trace of confusion in them, as though she were disoriented. Slowly, her vision refocused on the figure she was touching. Her pupils widened sharply, and he could see them trembling dramatically. Her lips parted slightly. Rayao-kun? Am I dreaming? Rayao said nothing at first, only noticing the subtle tension in her movements. Yui's entire face tensed. Sorry, this isn't a dream. With a helpless tone, Rayao said. Yui. No, more accurately, Mrs. Uegahama. It's nice to see you again, though this timing really isn't ideal. Yes, precisely. He realized something was off the moment Yui awoke. Physically, it was Yui. This was Yui's body. But, in fact, it was Uegahama's mother. Once again they had swapped souls. Mrs. Uegahama closed her eyes for a few seconds, then opened them again. Rayao remained there, and the intimacy between them was undeniably real. So this was no dream. In that instant, her mind went blank. Tears gathered in her eyes, and she bit her trembling lip as she asked. Rayao-kun. Why? The look in her eyes made it seem impossible to believe he would do something like this. Sigh. Rayao pressed a hand to his forehead. Mrs. Uegahama, first take a look around you, and at yourself. While the baffled Mrs. Uegahama glanced at the unfamiliar surroundings, Rayao conjured a mirror of ice with a casual gesture. Through its surface, Mrs. Uegahama saw her own flushed face. Except. No. That face wasn't hers at all. It was Yui's. Touching this face, she confirmed it was indeed Yui's. Which meant. Mrs. Uegahama, I think you understand the situation now. This is a hotel room. You asked me to come here, and our growing intimacy happened naturally. Not long ago, you and Yui swapped souls again. She had experienced swapping souls with Yui once before, so ordinarily it wouldn't rattle her this much. But given the current scenario, even though she grasped it logically, she had no idea how to handle it emotionally. First, Yui had lied to her. She claimed she was going to Yumiko's house, but the truth was that she'd met up with Rayao at a hotel. More importantly, although this body was Yui's, right now the consciousness and sensations belonged to her, Mrs. Uegahama. These were experiences and sensations she had never known, an onrush of embarrassment, fear, anger, and everything else. Noticing her perplexed, helpless expression, Rayao also felt torn. He was well aware how intense it felt to be physically with Yui, while at the same time knowing this was actually Yui's mother's consciousness. Mrs. Uegahama, what do you think I should do now? He asked her first. You. Her instinctive response was to put an end to everything. But then she remembered that physically, she was Yui right now. Plus, all the heat that hadn't subsided left her at a loss. Was she really in a position to decide on Yui's behalf? Would that be unfair to Rayao? Her caring, considerate nature became the very source of her hesitation. That brief indecision told Rayao what to do. Forgive me if this sounds presumptuous, but from here on, you can treat yourself as Yui because at the moment, you truly are Yui. What? Mrs. Uegahama thought she must have misheard him. But in the next second, she saw her own eyes go wide with alarm. Wait. By the time she tried to stop him, it was already too late. Don't overthink it. I'm with Yui. No one else. Just consider it a dream. Mrs. Uegahama had almost no power to resist. 30 years' worth of pent-up emotion burst forth like a surging flood, drowning her will. Only one sentence remained in her mind, Yui. I'm sorry. Morning. Hana, let's go. Yatsuya Maiko and Yurikawa Hana, who had arranged to meet, were riding a vehicle to the shrine. Maiko's goal was to draw fortune slip for love. The shrine was on a mountain, and the car couldn't go all the way, so the two of them hiked partway up some stone steps. Surprisingly, there's no one else around today. After actually passing through the shrine's torii gate, they didn't see a single person. Hey, just right. No waiting in line. With a cheerful laugh, Hannah pulled Maiko forward at a light jog. Let's pay our respects first. Sure. They followed the customary procedure for worship, then simultaneously reached out to draw a fortune slip. Maiko had just drawn hers and hadn't yet looked at it when... Ding ding dang dang. A flurry of bells rang sharply. Whoosh. Right after that, a fierce gust of wind began howling. Whoa. Hannah lost her balance and toppled toward Maiko. Fortunately, Maiko was leaning against a pillar, so she didn't fall. Otherwise, a tumble could have been nasty. Even so, the sudden blast of wind was a rough experience, flinging dust and leaves everywhere and forcing them both to close their eyes. Chapter 352, Evil Spirit Wants to Become a God. A subtle pause. The wind died down. Only then did Maiko and Hannah slowly open their eyes. Ha. Where'd that sudden gust come from? Maiko spat out the dust and grit that had blown into her mouth. But then she heard Hannah's voice, trembling with shock. Maiko. I saw a monster. A monster? Seeing Hannah standing there, her head tilted back in a daze, mouth gaping, Maiko curiously looked up as well. Her pupils practically quaked. Maiko realized what Hannah meant by monster. It was a massive figure, half solid, half phantom, radiating a golden glow and rising up behind the shrine. Like a small mountain. A Cho'ogata Kyojin? Meanwhile, under the same bright morning sky, Yua, or rather, Mrs. Yuagahama, stirred from sleep. Her eyes slowly opened, and as her mind cleared, countless memories from the previous night fell into place, a night of complicated feelings. A night of guilt. A night of madness. A night of pleasure. She'd experienced so very much that night. Sensations she'd never known before. But how she wished it had all just been a dream. And yet, nestled in the warmth of that strong, reassuring body holding her close, she knew it was no dream. She'd been fully aware the entire time. You're awake, said Rao softly, already up. Mrs. Yuagahama, avoiding his gaze, only nodded in reply. Ma'am. I'm Yua. All right, Yua. It's okay if I remove it now, right? Her body tensed. She realized Rao had kept it in place all night. In an instant, her cheeks reddened furiously. She gave a small nod, her voice barely above a whisper. Once Rao removed it, her face turned an even deeper shade of pink. Originally, he'd planned to let her shower, but time seemed unwilling to wait. Ding. Yotsuya Maiko has sent you a trade request, trade content, eliminate a monster, ding. Please choose your trade condition. Simultaneously, Yotsuya Maiko posted a photo of the creature in their chat group. Yotsuya Maiko, image, Yotsuya Maiko, Rao. Isn't his monster some sort of evil spirit? My protective charms don't seem to work on it. Iragi Shinoa, what on earth is that? It's super creepy. Yotsuya Maiko, I don't know. It looks scary, but it hasn't harmed me or my friend. Rao recognized it at once. A so-called god formed by an evil spirit in a shrine. He was surprised his protective charms for evil spirits were ineffective. Rao, hang on. I'll be right there. Yotsuya Maiko, Ding. Trade initiated, trade partner, Yotsuya Maiko, trade content, eliminate a monster, trade condition, rights to use your body once, duration, 24 hours, Rao turned to Mrs. Yuagahama. Without warning, and to her astonishment, he lifted her into a princess carry. Rao-kun, what are you doing? Still wrapped up in Yu's body, Mrs. Yuagahama was flustered. Sorry, Mrs. Yuagahama, something urgent just came up. I don't have time to explain it all. Ding. You have selected to bestow chat group abilities upon Yuagahama Uezuki. Then, using transfer magic, he instantly brought her to the Yuagahama family's bathroom and set her down. If you want to understand what's going on, check the info in the group chat. I have to go. He confirmed the transaction. Rao's figure vanished before her eyes, leaving Mrs. Yuagahama alone and dazed, reeling from the sudden flood of knowledge and information in her mind. At the shrine, Yotsuya Maiko and Yurikawa Hana clung to each other, trembling, as a gigantic monster loomed over them. They also saw two humanoid figures wearing fox masks, half translucent. Whether those beings were monsters too, neither of them knew. Maiko, I can see the monster. Hana was both terrified and excited. I know. I can see it, too. Maiko fought to suppress her fear, trying to calm Hana. She herself was shocked that Hana could suddenly see monsters. Did this monster awaken Hannah's spiritual sight, or was it simply a tangible entity rather than an evil spirit? Maiko wasn't sure. All she could do was clutch her protective charm and wait for Rao to arrive. Ding ding dang dang. Countless bells attached to the monster chimed as it stared at them with its eerie gaze, though it took no overt action. The two fox-masked humanoid creatures, however, seemed to receive some signal and began approaching. What's that? Still trembling in fear, Hannah suddenly noticed something new appear before them. She looked up and realized what it was. It was a familiar figure for Maiko. Rao-kun. Yotsuya, Maiko called out in relief. Indeed, it was Rao who had just appeared. Hannah, it's Rao-kun. We're saved. While Maiko was overjoyed, Hannah stared up blankly. Following Hannah's line of sight, Rao glanced downward and corked his lips. Scared? It's so big, Hannah replied timidly. Yeah, Rao-kun, that monster is huge. What in the world is it? Maiko, clearly more focused on the creature, spoke in a rush. Rao merely waved his hand, and a fresh set of clothes materialized on him. He then briefly examined the two fox mask figures, akin to shrine maidens of this so-called god, as well as the giant figure perched atop the shrine. A thing wrapped in an aura of holiness. I see. With a single glance, he understood. It was, beyond doubt, still an evil spirit. But it had cloaked itself with something akin to human worship, hiding its true nature within. So you want to become a god through human faith? Rao almost laughed. Let me share a little saying, one worthless wretch remains so for life. If you're an evil spirit for a day, you're an evil spirit for life. Roar. His words seemed to enrage the massive being. It let out a thunderous bellow, its body splitting apart to reveal countless eyeballs. The golden, sacred aura faded, exposing a glimpse of its real evil spirit form. TSK. You really hate being an evil spirit, huh? What's with all the disguises? So pretentious. Rao smirked. Guess I'll show everyone your true face. At that moment, the two shrine maiden-like figures suddenly charged him. Rao gave them a cold look, and instantly they froze in place, losing the ability to move. Fire ignited upon their bodies. Ah! They let out shrill screams. In a mere blink, right in front of Maiko and Hannah, these two humanoid evil spirits were burned to ashes. Chapter 353, Easy to Coax. Its own Maiko was killed. Roar. The false god evil spirit let out an enraged bellow. Stop howling. It's obnoxious. Rao was already annoyed by the noise. He raised his right hand. Crack. A crisp sound came from overhead. Maiko and Hannah looked up. Whoa, what is that? Hannah's mouth hung open in astonishment. From the sky above came a rush of frigid air. Two colossal hands formed of solid ice. Let me help tear off that fake shell you're wearing. Rao's right hand closed in an empty grip, and the pair of icy hands seemed to come alive, reaching for the false god evil spirit. Roar. Sensing danger on instinct, the false god evil spirit spun around, trying to flee into the mountains. But those colossal hands belonged to Rao. Like an unbreakable iron cage slamming shut, sealing its fate. The frozen hands clutched it as if grasping a tiny chick. Roar. The false god evil spirit gave a terrified howl, but it couldn't stop the icy hands. Like plucking feathers from a chick, they ripped away its golden outer shell. Stripped bare, it revealed the nauseating, twisted form beneath. Enough to make one's sanity plummet. An evil spirit. Maiko cried out in alarm. The creature's entire body was wrapped in a familiar pitch-black aura. The same that enveloped every evil spirit. TSK, your true form is hideous, Rao remarked, shaking his head. You can't change what you are. You'll always be just an evil spirit. Snap. He snapped his fingers. The two icy hands suddenly flung the enormous evil spirit into the air like a pebble. Then they flattened into great palms. Smack. Using a classic squash-the-bug motion, they smacked it between them. A shockwave rippled outward, shattering the icy palms into countless glittering shards that rained down over the mountainside. The evil spirit itself was nowhere to be seen. Ding. Trade complete. Turning back toward the dumbstruck Maiko and Hannah, Rao asked. You two alright? Maiko was first to gather herself, nodding like a pecking chick. Rao, I'm fine. Hannah, a moment behind, snapped out of it and, without thinking, blurted. Big Chungus on the Eisen. Are you a magician? Maiko gave her friend a bewildered look. Big Chungus? She recalled an image of herself holding an item to be licked in both hands. Her cheeks immediately turned the shade of a ripe apple. Hannah, what are you saying? She blushed and quickly covered Hannah's mouth. Hannah, confused, tried gesturing with her hands. She would swear she definitely didn't see wrong. Something was very, very big just now. Maiko, don't overreact. Raoul stopped her attempt to muffle Hannah, smiling as he patted Hannah's head. At least she's telling the truth. Besides, Maiko, you've seen it and even used it, so just stay calm. Big is big. Nothing wrong with that. Ugh, Raoul. Hearing she'd been singled out, Maiko shot him a shy, reproachful glance. Eh? Hannah, finally catching on, realized that Maiko had not only seen it. She'd even used it? She gaped at her friend in disbelief. Blurting out. Maiko, you already took a step onto the grown-up path behind my back? Ugh. Maiko was so embarrassed she was on the verge of tears. Alright. Raoul rescued her from further awkwardness. He stretched out his hand, producing 10 dark blue crystalline tokens. These are new protective charms for you too. Protective charms? Hannah immediately pulled out the black crystal pendant around her neck. It looked quite similar. She suddenly realized. So you're the Raoul Maiko told me about. That's me. And you must be the cute, big-chested Hannah Yurikawa she talked about. Hannah, right? Hee. Cute Hannah grinned in a silly, happy way. That's me, Hannah. Flattered by his praise, she seemed to have already forgotten the scary incident just now. Possibly her mind just worked in a very simple, single-track manner. Accepting the protective charm, Maiko asked anxiously. Raoul, was that thing an evil spirit too? Why didn't our charm work on it earlier? It was an evil spirit, yes. But you could also call it the god of this shrine, relying on people's worship for faith. A god? Maiko felt a wave of revulsion. How could the god they revered be such a monster? Of course, it wasn't really a god, Raoul went on, pointing around the shrine. That thing was an evil spirit that drove out the real occupant, trying to use stolen faith to become a so-called deity. And the godhood he meant wasn't one of those mighty, omnipotent deities up in the heavens. In this world, it was closer to the concept of Yae or Azu no Kami. Basically a type of yokai. Becoming a god would just mean transforming from an evil spirit into a yokai-like entity, freer in nature, nothing to do with a true divine being. The new charms I'm giving you retain the old charms' functions, plus a protective shield and a means to attack if you choose. He had barely finished when... Crack! A shard of ice shot out from in front of Hannah, striking a large tree 100 meters away. Crunch! In a mere blink, the entire tree turned to glittering ice under the sunlight. And then shattered completely. That's amazing. Hannah's eyes widened in shock. It's like magic. Maiko nearly jumped out of her skin. Hannah, you can't waste such a precious thing on a demonstration like that. It's fine, Raoul reassured them. There's plenty of energy in each one, and it's not precious at all. In truth, it was anything but precious. Practically cheap. All he'd done was casually pour some magic power in and install a few unconditional magic seals. Hold on to these. If you ever run into an evil spirit like that again, you won't have to worry. Thank you, Raoul. Beaming, Maiko stowed her charm away. And here, Maiko, you should. Hannah began, intending to return the charm in her hand. No need to give it back to Maiko. Raoul stopped her. Since you're her friend, this is my gift to you as her boyfriend and future husband. Take it. Hearing him call himself her boyfriend and future husband made Maiko's head spin. Raoul. A small smile played on Raoul's lips. Maiko, do you want to be my wife? He had said from the second time they met that he would genuinely make Maiko his. Naturally, he saw no reason to hesitate, and pulled her into his arms. She didn't resist. In fact, she nestled in willingly, burying her face in his shirt. And then he heard the faintest little hum of agreement, quieter than a mosquito's buzz. Raoul smiled broadly. Maiko, you really were quite easy to win over. Chapter 354, The Cute Friend of Maiko, Yurikawa Hannah. Hannah blinked her big eyes, staring at Maiko and Raoul standing there. Suddenly, the protective charm in her own hands no longer seemed so appealing. She exaggerated a dainty hiccup, then clutched her chest dramatically, eyes shimmering with faux sorrow. Wah, Maiko, why? Why must you shower me with public displays of affection like this? Hannah clutched her large chest. Or rather, her heart. In dramatic sorrow. I shouldn't even be here, I should be under a car instead. PFFT. That theatrical display made Maiko, who was still flustered, break into laughter. Hannah, stop talking nonsense. Haha. Hannah dropped the pretense. Yes, it had been over the top. She scratched the back of her head. I just never imagined that not only has Maiko become an adult, but she's gone so far already. But either way, I'll be sure to congratulate you, Maiko. Hannah was unswerving in her support for her best friend. Hannah. Maiko felt deeply moved. Hannah not only trusted her unconditionally, but also supported her unconditionally. Oh, right. Wishing she could do something for her friend, Maiko recalled something. Raoul, Hannah could see that evil spirit earlier too. Was it something special about that spirit that made her see it, or did she awaken a spirit sight of her own? Oh? Rao cast another look at Hannah. Name, Yurikawa Hannah. Level, 0. Ability, Spirit Sight. Hannah has awakened a spirit sight, too. Hannah tilted her head in puzzlement. Rao, how do you know I've awakened the same spirit-seeing eye as Maiko? Because my own eyes have special powers. Eh? Hannah was surprised yet again, her curiosity on full display. Then, Rao, do you have X-ray vision? That inquisitive expression stirred certain thoughts in Rao's mind, but he simply nodded. That's right. I can see through things. He eyed Hannah with a mischievous grin. At this moment, Hannah, I've seen everything there is to see. Eek. Hannah reacted like most girls would. She tried to cover herself. But only a few seconds passed before she relaxed, letting her arms fall. Not only that. She stretched them wide, as though prepared to face whatever came. Go ahead and look. What are you doing now? It was Rao's turn to be baffled. Wearing a serious expression, Hannah said. Just now, I kinda saw everything about Rao. Now it's Rao's turn to see me. That way it's fair. An awkward silence spread. Maiko's mouth twitched a few times. Rao, please don't mind her. Hannah is just a bit dumb. Ugh, Maiko's saying mean things about me again. Hannah pouted, cheeks puffed roundly. I'm not dumb. If you don't believe me, ask super sharp-eyed Rao. Rao laughed. Haha, I think it's kinda cute, actually. See? Rao says so, too. You're such a great guy, Rao. Plus you've got that big chungus and you're a super nice guy. Maiko's lips twitched again. Right. So she's not stupid? Having settled things at the shrine, Maiko hadn't forgotten the real matter at hand, a trade, and she needed to give her payment. The thought of what was about to happen made her blush as she approached Hannah hesitantly. Hannah, you should probably head home now. Huh? Hannah shook her head vigorously like a rattle. No way, I want to see more of Rao's magic. But it's fine, Maiko. If Hannah wants to watch, I'll let her. Let's just move somewhere else, Rao said with a light chuckle. Such a delightful, naive girl. He had no intention of simply sending her away. A while later. Wow. What is this fancy hotel? It's my first time in a place like this. Hannah pressed up to the huge floor-to-ceiling window in a tall building, looking off into the distance. It's the sea. They were in a luxury 5-star hotel with an ocean view. Rao had brought them here and set up wards against hidden cameras, wiretaps, peeping, even magical eavesdropping. Not a trace could be seen through the windows, even from the balcony. Maiko, still bashfully flustered, had gone to shower. At the moment, only Rao and Hannah remained. After the initial excitement wore off, Hannah asked. Rao, what are we doing here? Rao smiled. Hannah, do you know what I really am? A magician? Hannah still clung to that idea. Rao nodded and then shook his head. Not quite right. The correct answer is that I'm someone from another world who was summoned here because Maiko needed help. What? Hannah showed not a hint of fear, only lighting up with excitement. Her eyes glistened like stars. That's so romantic. She saw it as a wonderfully romantic scenario. But Rao offered a dose of reality. Helping Maiko is also tied to a deal. She has to pay a price for it. Which is why I brought her here. Huh? What price? Hannah blinked her big, bright eyes. Apparently, Maiko had said nothing to her about it. Rao's lips curved slightly as he leaned in and whispered a few words in her ear. Instantly, Hannah's face turned red so fast it could be seen with the naked eye. It's that? She wasn't sure whether she felt shocked or embarrassed. Which meant Maiko was giving herself over for both her own safety and Hannah's too. Maiko isn't really doing it of her own accord? No, Rao answered, shaking his head. As you saw, it was more like we took action first and formalized it afterward. And it turns out, in that regard, we suit each other pretty well. Indeed, not that it started out that way, but under his destructive blow, there was no doubt it would end up fitting. Eventually she'd become the shape he required. No wonder Maiko kept hurrying me to leave, Hannah mused, as though she finally understood. Rao went on casually. That's why what's going to happen next isn't really something you should be here for, Hannah. How about I take you home? No. Hannah refused outright, her eyes filled with resolve. This isn't just Maiko's business. Rao saved me too, so it's my business as well. Oh? Rao gave her a slightly doubtful look. And what exactly can you do? Hannah racked her brain, realizing that aside from her talent for eating, and having a big appetite, she wasn't sure what else she could contribute. But then the sound of running water from the bathroom gradually stopped, and her eyes brightened. That's it. I can do the same thing Maiko does with Rao. Chapter 355, Amazing Friend, Mother and Daughter Lies. Before long. What are you two talking about? Stepping out of the bathroom in a towel, Maiko glanced curiously at the other two. She had the feeling there was something off about the atmosphere between them. Hana, aren't you going home? Maiko had decided it would be best to urge Hana to leave quickly, otherwise, she wouldn't be able to repay Rao properly. Oh. I'll take a quick shower, then I'm heading out. She gave Maiko no chance to speak further, dashing into the bathroom and swiftly shutting the door. Maiko stood there, bewildered. Can't she just bathe at home? Rao, wearing a faint smile, explained. Hana said she was so scared earlier that she broke into a cold sweat, and she won't feel comfortable unless she washes up. Oh. Maiko accepted the explanation without question. After all, she really had been terrified herself. Setting aside a cold sweat, she had nearly better not say. Fortunately, she'd held it in, or she would have embarrassed herself not just in front of Rao, but in front of Hana as well. Alright, then once Hana goes home. She intended to wait for Hana to leave so she could properly receive Rao's baptism. But before she finished, Rao pulled her onto the bed, silencing her with a kiss. And, beneath her shocked gaze, it began. Half an hour later. Maiko's body and mind were both in wild disarray. Rao had positioned her facing the bathroom, and she was staring fixedly at the bathroom door, ears straining for the sound of running water. Even though she was already a mess, she still tried to warn him, Rao, Hana's almost done there. Shouldn't we stop? It was as if Rao didn't hear, continuing his output. Maiko panicked. She was bouncing up and down in his grasp like a doll, with no ability to resist. Thankfully, the water was still running. There was a bit more time. Determined, Maiko gritted her teeth, planning to let herself go once before speaking again. But although the water was still running, the bathroom door opened. Just as she'd geared up to release, Maiko locked eyes with Hana, who had come to a halt, staring. She felt as if she'd been struck by lightning. Hana. Her lips felt parched, and she wanted to explain. Eek. Yet her body betrayed her, rushing straight into that overwhelming but mortifying peak right at that moment. Hana stared blankly at the wet evidence flying toward her. By her estimate, the distance from the bed had to be at least 4 or 5 meters. That didn't match anything they'd learned in biology class. How on earth did Maiko pull that off? Did she have a hidden water gun? Meanwhile, Maiko, who had inadvertently performed quite a show, realized her social life was finished. She was practically paralyzed, managing only to mumble. Hana. Don't look. Hurry and go. Go? Hey. Rao sat up, calmly lifting Maiko away and setting her to one side. Then he crooked a finger at Hana. Hana obediently approached. Hana, you've been curious about my so-called big chungus since the beginning. Go ahead and take a good look. Hana really did reach out, experimentally. Maiko was dumbstruck. What's going on? Still lightly rubbing Maiko's small foot, Rao explained with a smile. I mentioned our situation to Hana earlier. She decided to share some of the burden for you, so here we are. He couldn't help remarking. Maiko, you really do have a wonderful friend. Ugh. Maiko watched as her best friend started sampling something tasty, part of which Maiko herself had just produced. She found herself lost for words. Indeed, her instincts had been right, something must have happened while Hana was showering. Maiko? Oh, cough you. Hana was talking, but with her cheeks so stuffed, her words came out garbled. Maiko's eyelids twitched in exasperation. Come on, at a time like this, don't speak at all. Maiko, do you still have the strength? Maiko paused, took a deep breath, and only had one thought left. Well, that's it, Hana. Let's stay best friends. No, best sisters. For life. Rao, I can still go. You awoke, sitting up in a haze. Glancing around in confusion, she recognized the furniture and decor. This is my room? She clearly recalled doing a lot with Rao at the hotel. Yet her body wasn't sore at all, as if nothing had happened. Wait. She realized the weight on her chest felt different. Testing it with her hand. There was an unmistakably familiar sense of heft. Are you awake? A familiar voice rang out. Her own voice. Looking up, she saw herself standing in the doorway. She was calling Yui's name, yet it was obviously Yui who was in the bed. This has to be a dream, Yui mumbled. Two of herself couldn't exist. She gave her cheek a pinch. Ow! It hurt enough to make her bare her teeth. It hurts. So not a dream? While Yui was still in a fog. Yui by the door approached with a sigh. Yui, it's me. Mom. Looks like our bodies are swapped again. Eh? Question mark sigh. This morning, Ryo-kun brought you home while you were asleep, and after he left, it wasn't long before our bodies swapped again, Mrs. Uegahama said calmly, utilizing the lie she had spent considerable effort devising. Stated this way, hopefully Yui wouldn't assume anything too strange. Indeed, Yui had nearly worried whether they'd swapped halfway through. That would have been far too horrifying. Fortunately, it wasn't so. She breathed a sigh of relief, but soon she was facing her mother's serious questioning. Yui, didn't you say you were going to Yumiko's place? So why did Ryo-kun bring you home? Plus, your body seems absolutely worn out. You two didn't go and do anything crazy, did you? A cold sweat broke over Yui. She was scared her mother might discover something. Trying to think fast, she hurriedly made something up. We went to a karaoke place yesterday, singing and dancing until we were exhausted, ha. She reached up to scratch the back of her head in embarrassment. Mrs. Uegahama, watching her daughter lie to her while she herself was lying to her daughter, felt the most complex swirl of emotions imaginable. Chapter 356, How was it? Yui lying to her mother. Her mother lying to Yui. All to hide everything that Mrs. Uegahama had experienced the previous night. Mrs. Uegahama chose to accept this lie. All right, I understand. Frowning slightly, she massaged her shoulder. In truth, more than her shoulder, she wanted to rub the forest that Ryo had ravaged. Numb and swollen, still lingering even after a bath. Putting on a stern face, Mrs. Uegahama scolded. From now on, don't get carried away with your play. Look how exhausted your body is. It's rough on your mother. That remark wasn't just a direct response to Yui's lie. It also carried Mrs. Uegahama's genuine complaints. If not for Yui's subconscious adolescent syndrome flare-up causing their soul swap, how could she have ended up experiencing such an immoral affair? How could she have found herself looking back so much on those type matters? Sigh. A deep sigh. All of this was just a tangled fate. Sorry. I won't dare do it again next time. Yui could only bow her head repeatedly, apologizing. At the same time, the thought that her own mother was having to endure the worn-out body left behind after Ryo took her made Yui blush crimson. Not just Yui. Mrs. Uegahama herself felt her entire body heat up, unconsciously pressing her legs together. She wanted to flee from her daughter's sight as quickly as possible. So she said, I'll go rest now and let your body recover. For lunch, make whatever you want, or you can order takeout. Okay. They tacitly agreed not to say anything further. After Mrs. Uegahama left, Yui finally breathed a long sigh of relief. Phew. Good thing Mom didn't notice anything strange. Right afterward, she recalled Ryo and noticed that he was in the midst of a trade with Yotsuya Maiko. The chat group was busy talking as well. Frieren, no live stream again this time? Sakobujujima, I think it's more important to make sure Maiko is safe. Taru, don't worry. With Ryo there, she won't be losing any limbs. Stella, your phrasing makes it sound even scarier. Stella, Ryo, this is your second trade in a row, aren't you going to tell the group about it? Ryo, honestly, there's not much to share. The monster on Maiko's side was like a silver spear candle. Shatters at a single touch. Ryo, as for streaming, I'm juggling 2 torches right now. You want to see? Stella? Ugh, who wants to watch that? Stella was grinding her teeth, feeling uncomfortable seeing Ryo enjoy things she herself couldn't really understand. And she was already in a poor mood these past 2 days. First, her period had just started, and then there was a new teacher at school who liked to stir up trouble. Sui, 2 people? Isn't Maiko by herself? Ryo, there's also Maiko's close friend, Yurikawa Hana. Hana-chan. She's a very cute girl. Seeing herself praised, Hana, who was sitting on him, beamed like she was savoring honey. Meanwhile, Maiko, who was pinned beneath him, grumbled jealously. Ryo, between Hana and me, who's cuter? It's definitely me, hee. Hana refused to back down, pointing downward. Ryona's big chungus is right here with me? Hearing this, Maiko looked confused. The Hana she knew had turned into some bizarre, even somewhat predatory version of herself. Extremely worrying. Ryo himself didn't need to do the work. He only had to enjoy. Whereas Maiko and Hana had to do all the thinking. But he was excellent at balancing things. You're both cute, he said. Hana's the clueless, naive type of cute. Maiko's the kind that makes you want to tease her. It wasn't even much of a compliment, but in their hazy state. Overwhelmed by the big chungus. Both of them only heard the word cute. Their eyes turned pink and heart-shaped, and they redoubled their efforts. My Sakurajima, wow, impressive. You went to help Maiko and ended up taking her friend, too. Misaka Mikoto, the ultimate lecher. Shiba Miyuki, I think maybe Ryo-kun was actually the one seduced. Stella? Akam, it's possible. Misaka Mikoto? Stella, did he drug all of you or something? Frieren, how excessive. Ryo, what do you think? Ryo, I'm going at it full force here. Maiko, maybe you can tell them who made the first move, me or Hana? Yatsuya Maiko, yo. It was Hana who seduced Ryo. Megumi Kato, just as expected. Haruime, so it's true after all. Yukino Shita Yukino, excessive. Yukino massaged her temples. The longer she stayed in the chat group, the more she felt her worldview twisting. Back in the day, just hearing talk like this would make her not even want to look. Now, though, she could keep a straight face while taking it all in, and even found it strangely intriguing. Yue. She thought of Yue, who had also completed a transaction and was practically serving her every day as her sweet Yue-chan.